deporting illegal immigrants. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the key is for Republicans and Democrats to work together.
And for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops.
Leavitt spoke to reporters today after President Trump chatted via phone with Governor Tim Walz.
President Trump says he and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz seemed to be on a similar wavelength during a phone call today. The president says he's dispatching Border Czar Tom Homan to manage immigration operations in Minnesota, a move that follows bipartisan criticism of the deadly shooting over the weekend of a Minnesota man by a Border Patrol agent. In a Truth Social post, President Trump says he told the governor that the administration is looking for any and all criminals in their possession. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Fox reports that ICE Commander Greg Bovino and some Border Patrol agents are leaving Minneapolis as soon as tomorrow. More than 600,000 customers are without power from Texas to West Virginia, many in the bitter cold after a massive storm slammed much of the country this weekend. The most outages are in Tennessee. Middle Tennessee Electric CEO Chris Jones.
A number of people remain out of power, and we're working as hard as we can to restore those. The last few are going to be the most challenging because it can be in remote areas where it's just hard to get to. Still lots of trees with ice accumulation. We're still picking up more outages as we're working, and we're very concerned about very cold temperatures.
The storm also left at least 25 people dead in its wake and disrupted travel. Airlines have canceled more than 4,800 flights so far today. Meantime, an airport in Bangor, Maine is shut down after a business jet crash that killed 7 of the 8 people on board. America's listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
The yellow light!
I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. We've got a lot to get to, including Bob Ferguson and Nick Brown decided to give a press conference about what happened in Minneapolis over the weekend because they're all like, hey, we would like some free press so we can gaslight everyone into thinking that we'll get into it in a bit. But first, there was a game yesterday. I watched it in its entirety, and I am officially on the bandwagon. That's what's trending.
What's trending? The sports ball.
Big game last night. Seattle Seahawks took on the LA Rams. I'm not going to lie. I was worried at the end because, as you recall, not yesterday's game, but the game before that, that was the miraculous come-from-behind victory where the Seahawks won by 1 point. And last night, as the Rams had the ball with just how many? It was like a minute left. It was under a minute. I was wondering, oh no, they're going to have their miraculous come from behind victory.
25 seconds, yeah.
But I was getting a little bit nervous. And then they end up losing.
9 seconds left. Stafford looks, fires, ball is caught. Puka Nacua slides out of bounds. No, clock keeps moving. Nacua on. We are going to the Super Bowl. Take your helmets off, players. They're breaking the glass next door.
I didn't understand that last part. What did that mean? Glass that was breaking?
The only thing in that context that maybe he meant the noise from the stadium. Maybe I don't.
Is that okay?
I don't actually know. I feel like I need more context.
I listened to the full thing and I couldn't figure out what the context was. But maybe that makes sense. First, I was like, oh, they finally hit through the glass ceiling. Finally, a bunch of men can move on to a championship in a sport that's usually dominated by women. That's initially what I thought. But then I said, that doesn't make any sense. Now, big win, exciting win. I went into the game excited until I saw the most cringeworthy video between our mayor, Katie Wilson of Seattle, and LA's mayor in Karen Bass, who decided to do one of those videos in which they... I'm not entirely sure I even know how to describe this. They were trying to talk smack about one another, but doing it in a knowing way.
They're down to earth and hip. And
yeah,
cool.
It's like, I'm going to drink this beer right here in my hand. Oh, I love myself an IPA. It's IPA. I love myself an IPA. Thanks, Chief Warren. Listen to this really awful video.
Hey, Mayor Bass, excited for the game on Sunday? Seattle is ready for the Seahawks to give LA the same thrashing we gave San Francisco.
Thrashing? Please.
Oh, why do they insist on making videos like this when they're not capable of acting? There's no other way to do one of these videos than if you're not capable of acting, why do a scripted video like this? There's got to be something else you can do.
Hey, Mayor Bass, are you ready for another thrash?
Are you ready for another thrashing? It's more, oh God.
Los Angeles is ready, and we're taking this one.
Two great cities, but only Seattle shows up rain or shine, and only our 12s are loud enough to cause a seismic event.
Over here, it is sunshine almost all the time. Now, when the Rams take this one, we will send you a meal from one of our many Michelin restaurants.
And when the Seahawks win, we'll return the favor. Seattle.
You know what? And I just realized what makes it even worse. They're trying to seem as if they're talking to one another in like real time, instead of just cutting one video and then having someone splice it together. That's making it even worse. And we will do the same.
Seattle is famous for our coffee, and we have some of the best local roasters in the country.
We don't have the best local roasters in the country, by the way. Our coffee scene sucks. Sorry. I say this as someone who loves coffee. Unfortunately, you know who does better? Portland. They have better coffee in Portland. Shame on us for allowing them to win that battle.
We'll send you something truly world class.
We will send you something truly world class.
Deal. A true
deal.
West Coast wager.
Game on. Go Hawks.
Go Rams.
Ugh. Also, I don't understand. Why would the winning team have to send something? Shouldn't it be the other way around?
No, I think it's supposed, if you lose, they have to send the coffee. But they're bragging about it. That's what doesn't make sense.
Okay.
No. To be clear, none of it makes sense. It's awful. Now, the game almost didn't end with the Seahawks victory because of one selfish decision by one player, Woolly Mammoth. Isn't that his nickname?
I don't think so.
What's his last name?
Woolen.
Oh, not Woolly?
Yeah, like a woolen
sweater.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Here's Tariq Woolen's penalty.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, Seattle number 27. 15-yard penalty from the dead ball spot. It's an automatic first down.
Now, you're about to hear the Fox Sports guys, Troy Aikman's younger brother.
Kevin Burkhardt?
No, the football player.
Wait,
the quarterback.
Wait, what?
Who's the other guy?
Tom Brady?
Him.
Why is he Troy Aikman? I don't understand that. Though.
Well, because Troy Aikman's the only one whose name I know.
Oh.
And the guy who's weird looking.
Yeah, Kevin Burkhardt's the play-by-play guy,
yeah.
And Tom Brady does the...
I actually like Tom Brady on the...
He's grown on me.
Yeah, I think he's less wooden in all of this. But listen to the way they react, which is probably the way most people do.
Oh, this is number 27's first unsportsmanlike towards disqualification.
That was 4th and 12. And you see he's yapping at the Rams bench team.
Exactly right. He's going at the Rams bench. That's directed at an opponent. That's a big penalty because going fourth down, now it's a first down.
That is unbelievable. 4th and 12.
So I have
Rams
some thoughts.
will take it.
Now, I thought for the most part, the refs, to the benefit or detriment of both sides, kind of held off on some calls that they probably otherwise would have made. And I generally actually, as long as it's consistent, I prefer that. Meaning, okay, there was a little bit of a shove here or there. You don't need to throw a penalty flag every 2 seconds and dramatically impact the game via those calls. Unless it's especially egregious, I as long as you're consistent and it's benefiting and or harming everyone equally, I'm okay with that. This one seemed a little taunting, really. Number one, he knows not to do that. He did it anyway. But why is that even a penalty? It's going to make the other side more aggressive? Well, we got to lower the heat down. Too much aggression in this football in which we're trying to murder each other. Right? I don't understand that kind of... What do you care? If anything, it just eggs on the team to do better so they can taunt you, which is exactly what happened in the very next play, which is when Puka, the Nazi guy, made that catch and scored a touchdown off of Woolen.
Yeah, they went right at him.
So that was the ultimate payback for the taunting. So we didn't really need to hit them with the penalty. But it's against the rules. You're not supposed to. Okay, fine. So during the next break, the cameras happened to be on Woolen getting yelled at or confronted, let's say, by a couple of players.
A good talking down to.
It was definitely a, hey, dummy, you're hurting us. Don't do that again. And so I did not realize this, but Tariq Woolen is very active on the social media to the point where he retweets his own stuff, which I can understand because you want to make sure people saw it. Someone had tweeted out the video saying Tariq Woolen getting pressed by his teammates after the taunting penalty and getting burnt for a TD. And so Tariq responded by that, or retweeted it saying, wasn't getting pressed. We brothers, and we all chasing greatness. We on the same mission. With respect, we was definitely getting pressed. I'm not entirely sure I've heard of pressed in this context before, but based on the context, I know what it is they're saying. You were getting pressed. There's no doubt about it. You were getting yelled at, and I understand why anyone would yell at you. Then I started to like him because I looked at some of his other tweets, and now I'm a fan. He has one of I don't know what cartoon it's from, but it's this little fox, and it's got big old eyes, and it's really sad and regretful, and it says, "I'm sorry, do you still love me?"
I saw that.
That's hysterical, and that instantly made me like him. He said, no cap, high intense game, and when you in the zone and ballin' with your bros, sometimes you black out. And then it was an emoji of the smiley face tears because you're laughing so hard you cry. Now, no cap, high intense, I don't know what that means.
I think no cap means no lie. Like your cap is like lying. So.
Okay. So he could have said, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, exactly.
This was a highly intensive game. And when you find yourself in the zone and you're bawling with your brothers, sometimes you make a mistake. That's how I would have translated it. Mm-hmm. I do like he literally types how he speaks.
Yeah.
All of it. And I now like this guy. In fact, I'm giving him a follow. It's very rare. It's very rare.
He was probably the happiest person in the stadium that they held on and won that game.
Right. Oh my God. Because can you imagine? I was going through the scenario in my head had they lost as a result of this. And I was thinking to myself, Coach McDonald's is going to say, Tariq, have a seat. You're done. You're never stepping foot on this field again after that. Even though, again, I get where he's coming.
Well, they were already considering trading him earlier in the year. So then this would have.
So I shouldn't have followed him because he's not going to be a Seahawk any longer?
Well, we'll see. You know.
Okay. Well, congratulations to the Seahawks. Now they're going to Santa Clara, and I'm grateful that people are saying Santa Clara, not San Francisco, because it's not in San Francisco.
No, I mean, you might as well fly into San Jose to get there, you know.
It's faster to get to San Jose. They've added some flights direct to San Jose. Seattle to San Jose, I can't imagine there are normally all that many flights, right? San Jose is a tiny airport. Or it's a medium airport.
It's like a major city, though, still.
Yeah, there are lots of major cities. It doesn't have a huge airport, though.
Oh.
It's a mid-size airport is all I'm saying. Look, there's only 4, I think, direct flights to New York from Seattle. You think there's going to be more than 1 every couple days probably to San Jose? Can't be that many.
But it's kind of a neighboring city, it's on the West Coast.
Why can't you just agree with me? Why can't you just say, No cap. I'm balling on this show, and I see the point you're trying to make. Peace out. Why couldn't you just do that?
Well, that's boring.
You're a jerk. Are we all happy? What are the odds going in? Who are they playing? The Patriots again, right?
Yeah.
So this is the
chance at
same
revenge.
Or
double humiliation.
Right. Who are they? A good team? I mean, in context of Seahawks strengths.
Yeah, they're good. I mean,
they got it that far. I get it, but they were also playing a depleted.
It's hard
Broncos.
to know. Like with them, like they had like the easiest schedule in the league. Like they beat like hardly any good teams. So it's kind of hard to like is their record like just very inflated or like? I mean, the Seahawks I think are definitely a better team. They opened as like 4-point favorites, and then like quickly a ton of money came in on the Seahawks because it moved to like 6 in like a couple hours, I think, or something.
Yesterday?
Yeah, just like in a matter of hours. Yeah.
Well, maybe they saw as a tougher opponent would have been the Rams.
Well, I think that was most people felt like the winner of that game yesterday was going to win the Super Bowl is what I think a lot of people felt.
So that's good. Why can't the home team or the team with the best rating host the Super Bowl?
I think they just like it.
I don't like this.
Yeah, I think they always just kind of like it to be in sort of a climate-controlled environment. That's like.
Well, I'm going to walk something back. To have it on neutral ground, makes sense. But how do you have neutral ground with time zone differences?
I know, yeah.
Now, in fairness, it's not like the team shows up the night before, the day before. They're going to be there a week before, right?
Yeah, because they have like media day and stuff too. And
so they're going to be there the week of Super Bowl, which is what, 2 weeks from now?
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 weeks from yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
What are we supposed to do this week?
I don't know.
Are we going to pretend next week that we're all excited for the entire week? Because that seems tiring.
It's kind of like it's Super Bowl week. It's like a festival.
Yeah, but it's not here.
Yeah.
It's weird to get excited for an entire week on something we don't normally cover and I don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say, like I said yesterday, I was glad I watched the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting.
Interesting.
It was an interesting game. That's all.
It was a way better game than the first game of the day. Yeah.
That I don't know. I just saw clips of snow. I saw the first half and second half clip played side by side. One where there was no snow, and then the second one was nothing but snow.
I was at the Kraken game, but it sounds like I missed basically. It was a very boring game, apparently. So
was it? Because it was low scoring, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 10-7.
Ugh. So what do you think is going to happen?
I am cautiously optimistic that the Seahawks will win the Super Bowl.
Is it high scoring? I don't want one of the games, even if the Seahawks win, where it's so dominant that it's just boring.
I know.
I don't like that.
When they won the Super Bowl, it was like, there was almost like it was like over at half. And so when the clock finally hit 0, it was like, oh, yay.
Yeah, it's like we knew it
I was happy, but it was.
Yeah, I don't like those kinds of. I want them to win, but I want it to be close enough where it's an interesting and competitive game where you don't know exactly how it's going to end. And then you have to wonder whether or not, because you were cautiously optimistic, Jackson, did you put bad vibes out there and ruin their chances? So Tariq Woolen is all like, don't blame me. No cap, don't blame me. I was balling with my bros. That was Jackson. Jackson be tripping. That's how you talk sometimes.
Yeah.
Push the button. Do you want to push it at some point?
Well,
let's see if he's going to push it.
See if
and all he has to do is push it.
What's trending? Crime.
Literally, all he does.
My computer froze.
The contraction of the finger, and he can't figure that part out. A man and a dog was stabbed in a parking lot in Parkland. The suspect in this was killed by police. They say it happened early yesterday morning at a convenience store parking lot, according to the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. At some point, the suspect ended up getting killed in an officer-involved shooting, but that happened later on. Officers got the call around 6:30 saying that a man had been stabbed by some random dude in the parking lot when he and his girlfriend and 2 dogs were there living in their car. Both the victim and his dog ended up getting transported to hospitals in serious or critical condition. The girlfriend of the victim's name is Eddie Nitschke, said that he was stabbed after he said he was a Christian, so they think perhaps this was related to his religion and it's a hate crime.
This guy walks up and goes, "Hey, what's your religion?" Eddie goes, I don't have a religion. And he goes, come on, you got to have a religion.
And then eventually he relented, said, Christian. But is that real? Or was he just under pressure to say something?
Yeah, it sounded kind of...
Because I'm going to be honest. Someone comes up to me and demands to know my religion. I am not saying Jew.
Don't say Jew.
I will. That will never come out of my mouth. Because the tone, unless it's like, oh, what's your religion? Okay, I'm a Jew. Even then, they probably would still stab me. But you're coming up to me and you're screaming at me, like, what's your religion, man? I'm a Christian.
Just say something that they would never even heard of. Like, I'm Zoroastrian. Or like,
I was like, what is that? Me too. I never met someone like that. A neighbor said, this is an area that's getting increasingly sketchy. She wants to leave.
I'm feeling like I want to move. Like it's not safe.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's normal. She's speaking there to King 5. The suspect then accused the victim of pursuing him, which is a claim that Nitschke denied, according to King 5. The suspect attacked moments later, striking the guy multiple times with 2 knives, puncturing his lung, they say. During the attack, he told his girlfriend to release their dog from the car, presumably to help. But the dog, upon attacking the suspect, ended up getting stabbed. That would be my biggest fear of using my dog as a means to protect me, is that the dog ends up getting injured and or killed as a result of protecting me. And as much as I think any dog is willing to die for their owner, I don't want my dog to die for my owner. Sergeant Charles Porsche of the Lakewood Police Department spoke with our sister station, Car News Radio.
They were out there yesterday collecting evidence, beginning to do some of the interviews. And so that'll just continue for them to put together their investigation of what happened there.
So they're still trying to figure out all of this stuff. They do say that at the hospital, Nietzsche discovered the suspect was being treated in an adjacent room after having some interaction with deputies. They say while being interviewed by police, he heard commotion next door, and then he started to hear them say code red, which indicated there was obviously something wrong. And then this guy learned that the suspect had died. He said, when I found out that he died, I thought to myself, oh, he died. I felt bad, but then I thought, he just stabbed me. That's a normal response. That's a normal response to me. They say during the hospital stay, he was diagnosed with a collapsed lung, a blood clot in his brain, and I'm going to assume this was unrelated to the actual attack, lung cancer.
Probably, yeah.
That had nothing to do with the attack. Despite medical advice to remain hospitalized, he discharged himself, which I'm sure this will end well for him as well. So it's a homeless guy who got attacked by someone else who we don't really know the details of yet, right?
Yeah.
No wonder people are a little bit freaked out about living in that particular neighborhood.
Yeah.
How's the dog? I didn't see any update on the dog.
I believe the dog is going to be okay as well.
Okay, because if I'm going to be honest, that was the only aspect of this that I hoped would end well.
Yeah.
Like the other stuff, obviously I don't want a human being to die, but my focus was on the dog.
You always hate to see when like a homeless person drags a pet into their situation. It's like
2 pets too.
Yeah.
He had dogs in the car.
Yeah.
I think this was just one. What was the other dog doing? Like, Fido will handle this. Yeah. Stop bringing me into all your fights, man. Everyone's wandering up to you, asking you your religion.
He's the dog that just puts his name on the group project and gets an A.
I'm just going to put my head down. I didn't know what was happening. So who would protect your girlfriend if I were to go in and attack this guy? And by the way, the other dog is, gonna be honest, he's been feeling a little down in the dumps, not feeling masculine enough, not feeling like he can handle himself. He keeps wanting to ball with the boys, and I wanted to give him this. I thought he would have it, and ironically, he didn't. Now he feels worse because he couldn't handle his business.
No cap, yeah.
No cap, man. No cap. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to join the conversation. The 425 says, you can't plan a full Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Got to get established well in advance. You know what? We can send a man to the moon and we can't figure out the Super Bowl in 2 weeks? I think we can figure it out. Starting tonight, 8 p.m., we got a brand new host joining Seattle Red. his name, Scott Jennings. We're super excited to have him join our lineup. He'll be on the show as well. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here. The stock market last year killed it. A lot of that was tech stocks, AI, and yet $8 trillion in cash was sitting on the sidelines with investors scared or just unsure what to do, where to go. I know what to do and where to go. Let's start by going to Legacy Group Capital. LegacyG.com is the website. Now is the best time to set a strategy for the entire year. Lock in the gains and invest into a stable platform. Legacy Group Capital is based in Bellevue. And what they do is develop local real estate. They lend money. They lend what they can and then sharing the profit with investors. You're told to diversify your portfolio. Do it with Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund. They're delivering 9% on a fixed rate of return. And Legacy Group Capital accepts IRAs. Give them a call, 425-635-4700, 425-635-4700, or visit them online at legacyg.com. The letter G, legacyg.com.
Spring is right around the corner, but the perfect time to start your outdoor project is right now. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years. They design, build, and maintain stunning outdoor spaces, from full makeovers to weekly maintenance. Beat the spring rush and get your yard project started today. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
Hey, it's Guy Benson, and I told you that I'm trying something new this year. I want to have a healthier lifestyle, feel and look better. Got a really busy schedule, so what was I going to do? Well, I've engaged with the East Side Weight Loss Clinic, headquartered right in Kirkland, but you can do the program wherever. I'm on the East Coast, of course. I had a 15-minute consultation with Dr. Coogan and his team, and they were fantastic, so I decided to go for it. And guess what? A week and a half into the program, when I tell you it is working, it is working. My spouse and I have combined so far lost 19 pounds. That's in a week and a half. We're following the plan. We're trusting the process. It is working really well. So if you're interested in anything like this, at least schedule a 15-minute phone call at Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. I've had a great experience so far, as I said. I bet you will too. EastsideWeightLossClinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Scott Jennings coming to Seattle Red.
Any idea how many people ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks?
Starting tonight on Seattle Red.
Over 2,500 murderers, fraudsters, predators, and gang members. Walz and Fry and the rest of these Democrats in Minnesota radicalizing and propagandizing.
Scott Jennings beginning tonight at 8 p.m. on Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and SeattleRed.com.
This hour of the Jason Rantz Show is brought to you by General Transmission Repair.
To the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. Gregory Bovino, the Border Patrol commander, he is out of Minnesota, or is about to be out of Minnesota, replaced with Tom Homan. This direct response, not necessarily to the day-to-day operations as much as it's the response to the response of the direct day-to-day operations in Minnesota. Over the weekend, obviously, you all saw the news. Daniel Preddy was shot and killed by CPB officers, or CBP officers. I always make that mistake. After interfering, it would appear, in some sort of immigration enforcement action. He was armed at the time, but he was legally armed. And the Nome team came out with Bovino really hot initially, claiming that he was there to do some sort of mass harm to officers, using just the fact that he was armed, even though he wasn't using the gun in this encounter. Now, you can argue, reasonably so, that after he was disarmed, because of the way it was all going down, you only have a split second to react, it still seemed like he was going for his holster. You can make that argument, sure. If you listen to the video, you can hear someone within the group of officers saying gun, something like that. Now, it's unclear whether or not the firearm discharged as it was being removed from Preddy. Don't know. There are different ways we can look at this. Number one, you can say, and I think both of these points are not in conflict and they're perfectly reasonable. Number one, the shooting would not have happened. This man would still be alive had he not interfered with these Border Patrol agents doing their job. Had he not interfered, had he ignored the calls from the left, the Tim Walzes of the world and others, to interfere, he would still be alive. What's also true is that they did not need to shoot him under the circumstances that we can see on video. Now, I give them a whole lot of deference because they're in a split-second position where they are being hunted in some cases by people. They had a clear suspicion of this guy because he was armed at the time. And if you are Border Patrol or ICE or any law enforcement and someone's interfering, someone who you believe thinks you're a Nazi because he's been told you're a Nazi, you see the guy's armed, you're going to act in a way that guarantees your own safety but not necessarily the person's safety. I accept that as a basic premise. Now, that doesn't mean he's not right to be armed. He can be armed all he wants. But he made the choice to interfere, according to the video and according to the reporting. And he put himself in a position where someone in that group decided he was a threat. And I think they did so in good faith. I don't think that, despite what Patty Murray said over the weekend, it was not an execution, which is language that people like Patty Murray and Ilhan Omar and others use to take advantage of this to create even more chaos and violence. That's the thing. They want, on the radical left, they wanted this to happen. They wanted this to happen because it plays into their narrative. The more people that get shot and killed by ICE, the better it is politically for Democrats. And so they're doing literally nothing to lower the temperature here. They're doing nothing. In fact, they're making it worse. Tim Waltz?
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
Dear God, the hell is wrong with you? Seriously, what is wrong with you? And of course, he makes this comparison after already being criticized for all the Nazi comparisons. And he just leans in. Now, he got called out by the U.S. Holocaust Museum on X. They do not wade into political issues very often, But they decided to wade in on this, saying Anne Frank was targeted and murdered solely because she was Jewish. Leaders making false equivalencies to her experience for political purposes is never acceptable. Despite tensions in Minneapolis, exploiting the Holocaust is deeply offensive, especially as anti-Semitism surges. And of course, he knows that. The same people who are trafficking in this kind of rhetoric are the same ones who defended the anti-Semites for the last 3 years. Same group of people. But what do you think is the intent of language like that? It's to get more people on the streets. That's it. That's what this is about, to get more people on the streets. They're open about that. Soren Stevenson is a council member in Minneapolis. He was on MS Now, encouraging people to continue to impede ICE.
I'm worried that ICE is killing my constituents. I'm not worried about Americans, about Minneapolitans living out values of freedom, of the ability to do what you're going to do and go about your life and watch your government. I'm not worried about my constituents doing that at all.
Yeah, because you want to see them get injured, because then you can go back on MS Now for the 17th time and talk about how heroic you are. That's what this is about. You've got all of these people grandstanding here who don't even, in many cases, live in Minnesota or Minneapolis or dealing with any of this. Case in point, earlier today we had a press conference for some reason from Bob Ferguson and Nick Brown. So we got the dweeby governor and we've got the failed survivor contestant getting together saying, hey, what about us? What about us? And Bob Ferguson implies that he might deploy the National Guard against ICE. I mean, listen to the answer he gave to a question from the press.
I met with General Welsh yesterday. And so the question about at what point, obviously that's something that will be...
At what point do I call in the National Guard?
Having to think about as time goes forward. That decision's an important one. But, while I can't stop ICE from coming into Washington State, I do have certain tools.
And by the way, ICE is in Washington State. They've always been in Washington State. They didn't just start coming to Washington State as a direct result of Donald Trump. They were here during the Biden administration. Now, they weren't doing all that much intentionally under the Biden administration, but they were here, to be clear. And how do we know that they're currently here? Well, they're open about currently being here, and they talk about the arrests that they've made. They talk about it all the time. You can find them on their X account, ERO Seattle. They're out there, and they just made an arrest, for example, or they took into custody a convicted felon by the name of Sergio Daniel Velasquez Perpuli, who's a criminal alien from Mexico, who was serving time locally for manufacturing and delivering a controlled substance 3 times in Kitsap County. They took control of him. They're going to deport. They also detained, just before the weekend, one of the so-called worst of the worst, a 51-year-old named Orn Sayaseng, 51 years old, a legal immigrant from Laos, who has a felony conviction for rape out of King County. He was sentenced to 50 months in prison. So ICE Seattle made that arrest. He's going to be punished and he's going to be deported. The day before that, they arrested Jesus Francisco Moreno Sanchez, an illegal immigrant from Mexico who has an active warrant in his home country for attempted homicide. So he's been in custody or is in custody pending removal. So please tell me, Bob Ferguson, what are you going to do if ICE is in Seattle, even though they're already here?
That I have to do the best that I can to protect the public and to make sure that things are safe in our state. And one of those tools is bring up our National Guard to help protect Washingtonians. So
again, the implication there is he's saying he would bring out the National Guard to go up against ICE. That was the context in his statement. And do you think I'm misreading what he just said? It seems like I'm here. ICE is a threat. The public needs to be protected from ICE. One of my tools is the National Guard.
Yeah, I don't think there's...
How else?
You can't really construe that any other way.
So he's saying that we should use the National Guard against federal law enforcement.
Of course, we'll see how things develop. But the general and I had a good conversation. to talk about what's going on in Minnesota, to get his perspective, and to chat through different scenarios. And so that's where we're at right now.
No, I'll tell you where we're at right now. He's praying that ICE make a big move in Seattle or Tacoma or Spokane, because then he can fly into the rescue, get some more media coverage, increase his national brand, and get you all to ignore all of the issues facing Washington State that he and his party are directly responsible for. That's what's going on right now. He's like, please, God, please, 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 send in ICE. God, if you're out there listening, I don't ask for much. All I need you to do is just send a few more ICE agents here. Maybe have them shoot and kill a white guy, because that'll really help. Please, please.
Obviously, we'll be continuing those conversations, and that's just a judgment call. But what I would say is I'm not going to be shy about doing that if I think it's necessary to help protect the people of our state. That's the criteria.
There wasn't a single person in media who said, there are a lot of questions about what's going to happen in Washington, and are you planning to put out a statement at least? Are you going to talk to us? I mean, the whole state is wondering what's going to happen here. Can someone from your office at least tell us something? Oh no, I'll do you one better. I'll be me and the survivor loser.
This violence has widely been met with Minnesotans' love.
Minnesotans.
Of their community.
Isn't it Minnesotans?
I believe so, yeah.
And not hate or harm.
And yeah, no hate coming from the people on the streets, especially last night during the riot, when they surrounded a hotel that I'm not even sure ICE agents were in and then damaged the property dramatically. But it was all done lovingly.
The vast majority of people that you see in the streets in Minnesota, they're not radicals. They are everyday people who are coming out to support their community.
I don't know if I buy that. There's no doubt there are people who are part of the movement, just like during BLM, where they are convinced that what they're doing is right. They got, convinced to go out into the streets and protest. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot of folks who are professional activists out there who are part of the organizations that are making it seem like this movement is bigger than it actually is. They did it during BLM, and the world fell for it, willful, and they're doing it here too. That's the truth. That's the truth. And they've created this new narrative, executions and murders, right? And not once do these people come out and say, stop interfering with ICE agents and Border Patrol agents and law enforcement. Please stop making this worse. You can hold both positions on the left if you want. You can hold both positions on the right. Say this is necessary to push back because what's going out on the streets, it's unbelievable, it's wrong, it's fascism. You can hold that view while also at least saying, let's not interfere with law enforcement because you're going to make the situation worse. They are okay with all of that. And we're now being told by Ann Applebaum, the Atlantic staff writer on MS Now, that Trump has told all of law enforcement, just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
I think the really important word to use here is impunity. In other words, the Trump administration appears to have given these masked thugs who are now in the streets of so many American cities a sense that they can do whatever they want and no one can stop them. In other words, they are already now living in a lawless world. They aren't bound by any rules. They are
no rules, no laws. Just go out there, the jackbooted thugs.
Aren't bound by any regulations. They don't owe any explanations to anybody. When they kill someone or when they beat someone up, they have the administration immediately backing them up and supporting them.
And by the way, here's why they immediately back up and support all of these law enforcement officers. Is because they are the victims of an onslaught of literal assaults from people on the streets and 99% of left-wing media framing them as bad guys. That's why. That's why you get an immediate response. Now, the immediate defense, or at least the way they immediately defend, is not always the smart strategic move from a political standpoint or from a press relations standpoint. Sometimes they end up making it worse. But the instinct to immediately support ICE agents or CBP officers is the right one, and a direct result of the context in which they are relentlessly getting attacked. They can go ahead and make an arrest of a child rapist. You don't cover that at all. You don't cover it at all. Someone gets hit by a car and defends himself, he's a murderer. So yeah, they're going to always immediately respond, not just to back their own, but also to dial down some of the anger, because any one of these moments, any one of them, can end up becoming a nationwide riot that they don't want to deal with. And so they're trying to put out information immediately to say, it wasn't on us, it wasn't on us. The problem, of course, is that strategy only works a quarter of the time in this country, and you better have everything you say completely accurate beyond any reasonable doubt. And number two, you're still doing it in an environment in which left-wing media is overwhelmingly going to reject everything that you say. So that's the greater problem that this administration has. Now, can Tom Homan fix this? I don't know. I know that today the talker has been that he's bipartisan. He's got bipartisan support. I mean, it was under the Obama administration that he was awarded something which all of a sudden became a talking point. I had not seen the photo or heard this line at all until this weekend, but they're sending him down. I don't know if he's got bipartisan support because he's connected to the Trump administration. Everything Donald Trump touches breaks certain people on the left. Now, the president said he had a call today with Tim Walz, that they've got the same wavelength. Maybe. We'll see. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770. When we come back, a major airline has ended a huge policy. Some people are happy they ended it. We'll get into that and so much more when we come back on Seattle Red.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Head on over to Northwest Safe in Enumclaw or go online to nwsafe.com, and you'll find out rather quickly why they've got such an amazing reputation. Now, this is a family-owned and operated business. Since 1988, they've been doing this. And they are focused on protection, safes. Now, they're an exclusive Liberty Safe dealer. Those are made in the U.S. And this means you get better pricing, exclusive rebates, and you've got the perfect safe in stock ready to go. When you go to their showroom in Enumclaw, it's almost overwhelming because of how many options they have for people of all different needs. Firearm protection, documents, jewelry, large, small, midsize. And you might be, maybe just for a moment, thinking to yourself, how am I going to decide? Good news. They've got an expert sales team that just asks you a few questions. You tell them what you're looking for, and they've got an encyclopedic knowledge of everything in that showroom. In fact, if you don't want to go into their store in Enumclaw, you want to shop online at nwsafe.com, they offer the same level of service, including a personal video walkthrough to help you find the perfect safe for your home or your office. And it doesn't just stop there. White glove delivery service. It's unbeatable. You can also give them a call, 1-888-404-SAFE, 888-404-SAFE, or nwsafe.com.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know that hiking isn't for you. Sure, it sounds nice to be in nature while exercising, but that's what a gym and houseplants are for. I mean, you don't even like walking upstairs. So why would you walk up a hill for miles? To what, end up high in the air? Come on, you know you're scared of heights. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder, now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters. Tune in this weekend when we'll talk with local business owners about everything in and around your home. Join us on Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. It is official. Southwest ended not just one policy, but two. Starting tomorrow, or starting tonight at midnight, they are going to end the open seating arrangement where it was a free-for-all. You just jump on board depending on what number you're in or which line you're supposed to hang out in, and then there's always someone who goes into the wrong line to their benefit, and they're like, well, I didn't know. I'm so... You get on board, and then you elbow each other. It's kind of an interesting position. I've taken Southwest when I was like in college, and I remember having this. I need to walk with a sense of urgency without making it seem like I'm treating this with a sense of urgency. And it never really made any sense to me, but that's what they were doing. So they're getting rid of that. But they're also getting rid of a policy that's got a lot of fatty McFat faces upset. And I forgot that they did this. So they used to not charge the morbidly obese extra for the spillage into the other seat. Now they're raising ticket prices for the heftier travelers. I'm not entirely sure I know how this is going to work out in real life, because how many super morbidly obese people will say to Southwest, I need 2 tickets. And so I imagine what's going to happen is they're going to get onto a plane. There's going to be considerable amount of spillage. Someone's going to have to complain about the spillage, and then it's going to have an awkward talking to. But are they going to kick someone off the... Let's just assume it is a sold-out flight, and the fatter passenger didn't buy 2 tickets. And you're seated next to that person. And maybe you're the kind of person who will say something, but like, no, look, ma'am, not for nothing, flight attendant, but Fatty McFatface over there is just all over the place. This is not my fault. I feel bad. I lost a good 10 pounds recently. I get it. But what am I supposed to do? Or what should happen is the flight attendant's like, Mr. Fatty McFatface, what's going on over here? But at that point, we've established the issue. What are they supposed to do? They're not going to kick the person off the flight, right? Will they?
Could they impose some kind of fee, maybe? Or
But then you as the passenger who's dealing with the spillage, shouldn't you get that money? Shouldn't you get a free flight?
Yeah.
Because you're not getting what you paid for? You're getting way more than you paid for.
Maybe there'd be like a fat fund that they can pay aggrieved people with.
They say customers who encroach upon the neighboring... I like how they say encroach upon. It's better than what I said, I guess. The neighboring seat should proactively purchase the needed number of seats prior to travel to ensure the additional seat is available. That doesn't help at all about what's going to... I think what they hope this will be more... people being just proactive and not really making it's like one of those policies that's not really enforced, but you hope everyone, and if you're in that position, God bless you. You know you're in that position. You know you're a larger fella. You know that. So why not do the right thing ahead of time? Again, it's going to be embarrassing, but it's going to be worse, I think, on the flight. It's way less embarrassing to do it anonymously online where you're not making eye contact with the person. And a way around this is, I think they do this on Southwest. They definitely don't do this on Delta. When I was in the Delta seat, at least in the newer planes, I could have fit 3 of me in that seatbelt. They made the seatbelts now so that they don't need extensions or extenders, whatever those things are. They're huge. Like they're massive. And so what they should do on Southwest, if they don't, just have a normal person, like a skinny person seatbelt, and anyone who has to ask for the extra belt ahead of time, you know that's going to be the person.
That's the way you kind of weed everybody out.
Yeah. Just say, will you require a seatbelt extension? And if they say yes, you should then follow up. Is it because you're wide or because you're, thick? Like it could be a pregnant woman.
That's true.
So I think are you a pregnant person? Can't say woman. Yes or no. And they say no. Then they go, Fatty McFatface, question mark? If the answer is yes, then you got to get 2 tickets. Has this ever happened to you? Been on a plane next to someone with
yes.
a lot of... Oh, it's the worst.
It's awful.
And I feel bad for them. I know I'm making fun, but I feel bad for them too. But also, I mean, we're not the ones who are smiling. You're the one. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder. Now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
You know the one question that guys hate to have asked of them by their wives, Nick?
I can take a good guess.
I know you know 100 of them. This is the worst one. Do these jeans make my butt look big?
Whoa.
Can't answer that one, right? What I've noticed is whenever you ask me questions like that, I just simply say, oh, I don't know. What do the doctors at Longevity Medical Clinic say?
Well, the doctors at Longevity Medical Clinic would tell me that my butt looks great in those jeans now that my hormones are balanced.
What'd they do? Did they give you something to bring your weight down?
No, just a result of having my hormones balanced caused me to lose weight. Who would have known? I had no idea that would be a result of it.
So that's good. So the answer is you look great. You're beautiful.
I feel great. I look great.
Yeah.
And I know it.
I've also noticed that your testosterone makes you a little feistier than you normally are, as my beautiful Greek wife.
I might be small, but I have a loud bark.
Yes, you do. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at longevitymedicalclinic.com.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Skagit County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Scott Jennings coming to Seattle Red.
Any idea how many people ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks?
Starting tonight on Seattle Red.
Over 2,500 murderers, fraudsters, predators, and gang members. Walls and Fry and the rest of these Democrats in Minnesota radicalizing and propagandizing.
Scott Jennings beginning tonight at 8 p.m. on Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and SeattleRed.com.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
On the phone with Minnesota, I'm John Saucier, Fox News. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bavino is reportedly set to leave Minneapolis along with some Border Patrol officers.
Bavino's departure, along with a number of Customs and Border Protection agents, comes as President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, makes his way to Minneapolis to oversee ICE operations. Bavino was one of the top enforcement officials who defended the deadly shooting of Alex Preddy last Saturday, claiming Preddy impeded federal agents while being armed. The statements by Bavino caused community and national protests when compared with cell phone video of the shooting. Bavino has also been at other controversial immigration enforcement operations in cities such as Los Angeles and Chicago. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
President Trump had a phone call with Minnesota's governor and the mayor of Minneapolis today. Tom Homan will meet with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry on Tuesday. A major winter storm impacting more than 200 million Americans this weekend, disrupting more than 36,000 flights across 18 states. The storm knocked out power to over 1 million households at its peak. Middle Tennessee Electric CEO Chris Jones on Fox says more than 240,000 customers in Tennessee are without power.
A number of people remain out of power, and we're working as hard as we can to restore those. The last few are going to be the most challenging because it can be in remote areas where it's just hard to get to. Still lots of trees with ice accumulation. We're still picking up more outages as we're working, and we're very concerned about very cold temperatures.
Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey with an update on the conditions there.
Travel conditions remain challenging, so please be careful out there as cleanup continues. And again, if you can stay off the roads, we really appreciate it because the crews need time to clean up, and they're going to need more time to deal with whatever falls.
At least 29 deaths across the country have been attributed to this storm. America's listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Oh, Jesus. The yellow light! God, I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming live on the Seattle Red app. Seattle Times reprinted an op-ed treating drug traffickers as misunderstood entrepreneurs. Plus, Scott Jennings is going to stop by. Don't miss that, 5:30. He's our brand new host on Seattle Red. We'll give you all the details when he stops by. But first, locally, folks wanted to pretend that they were outraged by what happened in Minneapolis. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Northwest Safe Company.
What's trending in Seattle?
Well, after what happened in Minneapolis, we, of course, knew that here in Seattle, activists would be shutting down streets downtown. That was incredibly predictable. They do it each time. Anytime they're able to organize to block traffic, they'll take advantage. Then, of course, they act shocked when people get annoyed that they're shutting down traffic. There was this one viral video from the weekend. Actually, it wasn't in downtown Seattle. It was in West Seattle, where a guy was just yelling at the folks who were marching. And he's like, stop, enough. What are we doing here? Why are you doing this? Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. But all the protesters, their passion is supposed to be congratulated, lauded, patted on the back, even though sometimes they're not entirely sure. They know why it is they're upset. They just know they're supposed to be upset. Here's one protester speaking with Como.
I want to say we're grieving.
Well, then say that. Are you grieving? I want to say we're grieving because that's what we're told to say, but I don't know if I can explain that. Like, what is grieving? I didn't know the guy. What was his name? Danielle?
I want to say we're grieving because we are. We're grieving the loss of a human life.
I want to say you're trying to pretend that you're grieving. That's what I want to say. So I said it.
But I also want to say that we're past grieving.
So now you want to say, too. You could just say the things, ma'am. You can just say them. For example, watch this. I think you are a bored woman looking for something to do on a weekend. Now, contrast that to me saying this. I want to say I find you to be a woman who's probably bored and needs to do something on a weekend. You see what I did there? One was very wordy, kind of beating around the bush.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah. The other one was just direct.
Forthright. Yeah,
I'm just saying.
That we're angry. That we're really, really angry, that we're fed up.
You sound angry and fed up from the anger and fed upness in your voice.
We have to keep fighting. We have to keep taking to the streets. We have to organize. We have to come together.
You are organized. That's why you're there. That's how you knew that this was happening. You're part of the organization, right? You're organized.
And have community and organize.
So to organize twice. I like that we're angry because we keep having to fight. You're not fighting. You're just marching. You're not doing anything but blocking traffic and screaming to make yourself feel good. You're not actually doing anything. You haven't changed anything. Here's a guy named Jay speaking to Fox 13.
I woke up this morning and I saw the news about what happened to Alex and I found it revolting. I just very frustrated. I felt very helpless, like I couldn't do anything about what's happening to our nation. So I've been...
So you decided to do something that doesn't do anything to change the direction of our nation?
Trying to organize and do what I can to try to make some change. And then I saw this was happening and I was like, well, that's where I got to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but he stands united. We will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Doesn't rhyme, but they chant it as if it does.
I just want to say solidarity with what's happening in Minneapolis and a huge shout out to the union organizers and educators. I'm an educator in Minneapolis who yesterday shut the whole city down to protest what was happening with ICE. I think it's remarkable and know that Seattle stands with you.
So you think it's remarkable that professional activists were able to organize the activism? Whew, what a feat. I can't believe it myself. It's really difficult. People who are paid to protest, paid to organize, some volunteers, right? Some are just volunteers for these organizations, but I mean, we're talking about union leadership. They're not volunteering. Yeah, but he reveals something there. I put reveal in air quote, I guess, because we all know what's going on. We know that there are actual groups that are working together to organize these events, put people like Daniel Preddy in a position that he was in that ends up taking his life. So they rile up Daniel, get Daniel killed, then they protest to rile up a future Daniel. That's how this works. That's how this works. It is the progressive protest industrial complex. That's the reality that we're working with. Now, in this case, the group is called Seattle Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Just rolls off your tongue. SARPR. They were the ones who, at least in part, created this organization to protest against what they saw as, I guess, racist and political repression. Police were there to manage the disruption. It was funny. I was walking D'Artagnan, and a cop was driving by.
Wait, who's D'Artagnan?
Oh, my God. Thank you. That's my bad. I got a dog.
Really?
Yeah, his name is D'Artagnan. He's a Malinois mix.
Can't believe you've never mentioned this.
I know. That is my bad. People have been accusing me of not being open enough on the show and vulnerable emotionally. I got a little pup, and he had to pee. And a cop was driving by. He's like, Jason! I go, hi. When a cop does that, it always freaks me out initially. Then I realized they're almost always super friendly. And she was like, are you going to the protest? And the look I gave her, she immediately, no, never mind. She knew because it's the same thing over and over and over again. This is what they do. And, they manage their disruption and chaos. It's all intentional. People try to get home or to work. They get stuck, and you're not allowed to complain. If you complain, you're implicit or complicit in all the murdering, blah, 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 blah. And that's how it works. Protesters break the rules. Police are cautious. City leaders have to support them. The media treats all of this like it's some sort of unfortunate event, but it's an understandable expression of passion. It's really sad that they have to be there, but they just amplify all this stuff. And they always amplify the people who are the loudest, not necessarily the most thoughtful. Now, in fairness, poor reporters out there, you're telling them, find some thoughtful man on the street. That's not fair. That's not fair. I will give them a pass on that one. I don't expect them to interview every single person out there hoping that they'll find one unicorn. They're just not going to find it. Now, of course, what bothers me about all of this, Border Patrol doesn't operate regularly in Seattle. This is not something that happened in Seattle or West Seattle or Tacoma or Spokane. Seattle police had nothing to do with this. And yet I did like that there were a lot of abolish ICE signage. ICE was not involved in this. This was not an ICE operation in Minneapolis. Do they not know that?
I think they just kind of glom them all together.
They literally had a huge sign that said abolish ICE. Oh, okay. It's not ICE. Now, what we just got, courtesy of, and this is the predictable nature of everything. A lower court rules in favor of whichever progressive argument is being made. That happens all the time. And initially last week, maybe it was a week and a half ago, we had the judge in Minnesota basically saying, we're putting some restrictions on what ICE can do on the ground in Minnesota, right? And the left celebrated that, like, oh, that's amazing. Well, it just went to a different court, one a little bit higher, federal appeals court, and they declined to reimpose the restrictions on federal agents at the protests in Minnesota. So they said, ACLU, nice try. We're not a lower court. We're not some left-wing judge that you're going to be able to convince. Sorry, get out of here. This is the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals siding with the Trump administration, saying that limits imposed by a judge were too broad and too vague. Now, we'll see what happens. This is not the end of this particular case. It never ends just on an appellate court. But just remember, the previous judge was a Biden appointee. So now you definitely know where she's coming from. Her name is Catherine Menendez. Related to two brothers, perhaps? I don't trust this woman. Again, predictable. We knew that this was going to happen. Now, Caroline Leavitt was a little bit more on the offense today, not just calling out the anti-ICE rhetoric coming from the radical left, but also, she kind of distanced herself a little bit, at least distanced the president from Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem, right? I think that that's fair to say. But first, let's listen.
Encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage the Arizona Attorney General to look at the video of an ICE agent in Minneapolis. He was approached by left-wing agitators who were honking their horns and were screaming slurs at him. And he rolled down his window and he said, "What are you doing? I am out here trying to catch a child predator, somebody who has convicted crimes against an innocent child, and you are trying to obstruct me from doing my job." This rhetoric against ICE, comparing them to Nazi Gestapo, Donald Trump's police force, is despicable, it is shameful, and it is precisely what has led to the escalation of tensions in Minneapolis and in other places across the country.
She's right. And she also pointed out when there is any crime committed by an illegal immigrant, y'all are awfully silent. An ICE agent or Border Patrol agent looks at someone funny, and it's this big scandal that you cover. Now, there's no doubt that what happened over the weekend is, of course, a news story. But there are also other stories that they're not using, because if you point out, hey, another rapist was just arrested for deportation, it doesn't make the point you want them to make.
Amid the hysteria, we must remember how we got here to this moment today and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats opened America's borders for 4 years, inviting tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to flood into our country. Among them, violent criminals who terrorized American communities and have inflicted devastating, permanent pain and harm on law-abiding Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying crimes against U.S. citizens. The pain of American angel families was ignored and dismissed because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like Jocelyn Nungray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few of the many victims savagely murdered by illegal alien criminals.
When the left treats those stories or the unfortunate future stories like that with even a fraction of the passion that they cover anything that ICE does to an agitator, this whole country shifts just a little bit, which is precisely why they don't do it that way. Now, did this administration, at least Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, did they too aggressively respond by going after Alex Preddy? Yes, I think they did. Stephen Miller called him an assassin. There's no evidence that he was there to use his legally owned and carried firearm against any of the ICE agents. Now, maybe he did, and I have no idea, right? We're never going to know that answer unless he planned something in writing somewhere. But there was no evidence that was presented at all to back that claim up. So will he apologize for that?
Will Stephen Miller be apologising to the family of Alex Pretty for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the President goes for the parents of angel families, parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the President continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country.
Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Media bias.
The Seattle Times republished an op-ed that is a defense brief for drug traffickers and somehow thought it passed for serious moral reasoning. The article by a guy named Hugo Bolta is called "The U.S. Drug Market Exists Because Americans Keep Buying." Oh, okay. We have a state drowning in fentanyl deaths, and the Seattle Times chose to amplify an argument that treats the people flooding our streets with the lethal drugs as misunderstood participants in a supply chain rather than predators who profit off of addiction and death and murder, really. It argues that drug traffickers and smugglers and suppliers, everyone within the drug dealing world, they shouldn't be seen as villains because they're just responding to American demand. That's the claim in this article. That demand, according to this article, we're all told in this article, makes the United States the engine of the crisis. Latin American drug networks, the cartels, they're not really predators so much as they are rational market actors who are caught in a tragic economic system that is fueled by poverty and supply and demand. It's really capitalism.
Just the free market at work, yeah.
It's just a free market, man. Now, even before arguing against the points made in this article, in this op-ed, there is a basic question that I think is, it's not even just basic. I can't even believe it got to this point. Like, how did this get printed in the first place? Even by the standards of the Seattle Times, one that regularly launders radical activism through its opinion pages, this is a low that I didn't think that they would ever hit. The claim at the beginning of this article is that the U.S. has spent decades condemning Latin American countries and governments while ignoring the role of the American people. The argument is given in the context of the Trump administration deciding to target the drug smuggling boats in international waters with a big old missile. That's the context here. And the author insists this narrative is actually a distortion. And the central truth of everything that's going on is actually rather simple. Americans keep buying drugs, and can you really blame the drug cartels for meeting the supply? I mean, again, it's just supply and demand. And he states, going from Latin America, he jumps to Mexico, and he says the Mexican criminal gangs, the groups, the cartels, they merely adapted to meet the market, not because Mexico wanted to poison Americans, but because the U.S. market said, we're willing to keep buying. We want more. You're closer. That's in this article. The logic is doing so much work there, right? Drug cartels don't sell sweaters on Etsy. They manufacture and traffic substances designed to addict people, to degrade their lives, and to ultimately end their lives. Fentanyl is not an accidental byproduct of some unmet consumer need. That's not what fentanyl is. And selling it is a deliberate weaponization of poison. That's what it is. It's weaponized poison. It's cheap, it's potent, it's profitable. It just so happens to be really, really deadly. But don't worry, it's really easy to create a new addict off of that pill. So you'll keep making so much money. Calling this just an example of basic economics doesn't make it morally neutral. You can even point out the economics of it all, but they're doing it to the detriment of morality. And it's funny because I think there's like one, maybe two sentences where the author claims that this is not a moral absolution of the cartels, but then he proceeds to do exactly that by completely shifting responsibility away from the people who flood our communities with the drugs and onto the people whose lives are destroyed because of the drugs. And a bunch of statistics thrown in here about rising consumption, to say that supply is not the root of the crisis, demand is, okay, yeah, we got it. And perhaps that's a fashionable framing in academic circles, but anyone who reads this knows all he's doing is conveniently avoids naming villains because he doesn't want them to be punished. Demand doesn't happen or emerge in any meaningful way in some sort of vacuum. Drug addiction is not the same as consumer preference. That's not the same thing. Addiction is a condition that is exploited by the cartels that intentionally increase the potency of the drugs that they're selling, flood the streets with supply, and then maximize the profit as best as humanly possible. That's what this is. If there were no flood of fentanyl, there would be fewer fentanyl addicts. So this whole idea of, well, supply and demand, no, not really, not quite. You're kind of reversing this a bit. If you didn't have any meth labs, if you didn't have any drug trafficking corridors, there wouldn't be neighborhoods completely hollowed out by drug addiction. That's how this works. Supply creates demand just as much as demand attracts supply. And that matters because policy follows narrative. If traffickers are merely responding to the drug appetites of Americans, then enforcement becomes suspect and borders become irrelevant, which again, I think is the intention of this very, very silly argument. But he does have a prescription, as it were, which is very predictable. He writes, if the U.S. government is serious about reducing the flow of narcotics, it must start by looking inward. That means investing in addiction treatment, regulating pharmaceutical practices, addressing economic despair, and confronting the social conditions that make narcotics appealing in the first place. It means acknowledging that the drug trade is a hemispheric system, one in which the United States is not merely the endpoint, but the engine. Now, of course, what's missing in that is any effort to stop the drugs from coming into this country. But I guess he doesn't realize this, but we wouldn't need an ever-expanding addiction services budget if the previous administration didn't allow the unprecedented volume of drugs to pour into this country over the border and over international waters. And if we don't stop that flow, militarily if necessary, there's never going to be enough funding for any of the treatment that he's asking for. The need for the treatment is always going to outpace the resources because the supply is endless. If you don't stop the supply, you have just more and more and more drug addicts. And when one dies, a new one is created. I wrote about this over at SeattleRed.com if you want to check it out. I've also posted on my social media accounts. I hope you'll check it out. This is just one of those things. I don't normally respond to op-eds because chances are you've never even seen the op-ed. This one was so spectacularly irresponsible, I had to say something. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. This hour brought to you by the Northwest Safe Company. When we come back, we're going to dive into the big local. A random stabbing in Redmond leaves folks on edge. Plus, another business closed due to left-wing policies, this time in Tacoma. We'll get into it when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Lewis County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Cold is leaking and rats are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Let's say you're building a home and you need a construction loan. Maybe you just want a traditional home mortgage. Maybe you want to invest in real estate. It gets really complicated, especially when you bring banks and lenders into the mix. And when it comes to loans and mortgages, banks and credit unions, you get buried in red tape. Legacy Group Capital, they do the complete opposite. I'm working with them. I've been talking to them about a home loan. I can tell you personally that Legacy Group Capital makes it so incredibly easy. Legacy is one of Washington's largest local private portfolio lenders who have helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals. And they do this with a common sense approach to everything. When it comes to borrowing, lending, well, they lend their own money. They make their own decisions. And so if your deal makes sense, they make it happen. So talk to the experts in private lending. Legacy Group Capital. Give them a call, 425-635-4700, 425-635-4700, or visit legacygg.com.
With great reviews and friendly, smiling faces, General Transmission can repair your transmission for far less than a replacement. Need a second opinion? Trust General Transmission. Family owned and operated since 1988, GeneralTransmission.com. Belize it or not, there's sunshine waiting for you in Belize. Win a free 7-day stay, including round-trip airfare from Seattle to Belize, and stay at the Flower World-owned Belizean Resort. Check out MayaHeights.com for rules and to enter for a chance to win. Maya Heights Resort, a beautiful restaurant, resort, 1,000-acre farm, and views to enjoy on the terrace in paradise. Belize will provide the warmth and adventure while Flower World provides the trip. MayaHeights.com, your gateway to Belize. From Flower World.
Hey, it's John Curley with Dr. Kopstein from K2 Vision RLE. Doc, I heard that 50% of Americans have their lenses replaced by the time they're 75.
That's exactly right, John. As we near 50, our eye's natural lens starts to become dysfunctional.
If you've now added readers to your need for glasses and contacts, it's a sign the quality and function of your natural lens is fading, and it's a steady decline towards cataracts.
Don't go another 20 plus years with poor vision, hassling with contacts and readers. Do what I did. Choose a quick, painless refractive lens exchange from K2 Vision RLE and start enjoying great vision now.
Our new lens technology is truly amazing. After replacing over 100,000 lenses, we have the experience to guide each patient to their best solution, even if that's recommending you wait a little while before RLE.
K2 Vision RLE can restore distance and near vision permanently, plus never develop a cataract. Read the reviews and schedule a free Zoom consultation now at k2visionrle.com.
If you need security for your event or business, contact Security Services Northwest. From armed and unarmed officers to advanced remote monitoring, they've been doing it all since 1977. Go to ssnwhq.com for Security Services Northwest.
Yelm, Tacoma, Bremerton, Bothell.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Redmond, Sumner, Kent.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at that, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local. Brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show. Heard weeknights, 8 p.m. right here on Seattle Red, online at seattlered.com and the Seattle Red app. Yes, Scott Jennings, his first show is tonight. He'll be stopping by to help preview it at 5:30. But for now, it's the Big Local. This is the part of the show where we completely ignore stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. We start in Tacoma, where a popular sandwich shop has decided to close its doors. This is yet another story about how difficult it is to operate a small business, in particular a restaurant in Washington, even for the owners who set out to do everything that the progressive activists and progressive lawmakers wanted them to do. The place is called Sandwich Star, which I've actually been to. It's really good. Or it was really good. I was there like a year ago or so. But they, in an Instagram post, announced that they are closing. And they said, look, I mean, we built this business around high wages, $20 an hour, supporting the community and getting the support from the community. We wanted to make this as affordable as humanly possible. And unfortunately, they couldn't make it work. They said Sandwich Star started as a pipe dream that would allow us to produce the kind of sandwiches Trey, one of the owners, grew up with and longed for, operating out of the kitchen at Edison City Ale House, whose owners now operate King Fish and Rye. But in addition, we wanted to create a business that supported people in the community. They said our employees were paid at least $20 an hour. We made good food with quality ingredients and did our best to keep our prices as low as possible. We even hosted free events consistently for as long as we could. And yet, despite that, they struggle to attract enough customers to survive. Now, perhaps if they did not have to do $20 an hour, if they weren't so committed to giving freebies out to the community, they would have been able to survive with that customer base that they had, but they couldn't. They say with the economy the way that it is, the costs of running a small business are astronomical. We just couldn't get enough people through the doors. It's a very lengthy statement, and we'll have it up at seattlered.com. But what is it that Republicans have warned for years in this state? That the layered mandates make it nearly impossible for not just small businesses in particular, but restaurants in particular to survive. You have a minimum wage law that is astronomically high. You have paid family and medical leave. You have payroll taxes, mandatory sick leave, rising workers' comp premiums. You have labor regulations that are very, very, very aggressive. And that's on top of the fixed costs, regardless of whether or not you have enough customers. Again, when you're talking about food prices here, I mean, grocery store prices in this state are amongst the highest in the country. And then you've got just the other stuff that's not necessarily on the backs of Washington lawmakers when you're looking at inflation and general changes in consumer habits. I'm not going to put that on the Democrats. The other stuff, though, is on the Democrats. And they never hold themselves responsible for any of this. They never step up and say, you know what, maybe we've gone too far, and that we would have this sandwich shop in Tacoma still operating if we didn't go so far. And look, I don't even know how Sandwich Star would take my analysis of this. I mean, I can't get, I don't know where they stand politically. But they're pointing out that they're paying a lot of money to individuals. I have to assume that plays a role. Would they still be in business? I'm making this up. If it was $12 an hour, would they still be in business? I bet you they would have a higher likelihood of still being in business. And so I feel bad for them. Again, I've been to this place before. I've had a sandwich from this place. I haven't been inside. Someone got me a sandwich there when I was there for an event. So I feel bad. It's just another business that is suffering the consequences of daring to open or trying to open in Washington State. Meanwhile, Redmond PD are searching for a suspect after a woman on Saturday was stabbed while walking on a trail. Someone called 911, a bystander, to report a woman had been stabbed. Officers were able to get there within 2 minutes. They found a 50-year-old woman suffering from what appeared to be multiple stab wounds along Bear Creek Trail near Redmond Town Center. She was taken to Harborview Medical Center in critical condition. She was in and out of consciousness. She was able to answer some questions from police, including saying that she didn't know who the suspect was. They had never met, or at least she didn't think they had ever met. And so the police say this might be a random attack. And that is disconcerting to say the least. Here's Redmond PD Chief Daryl Lowe.
Another passerby saw an individual running prior to coming upon the victim down on the trail. This is very abnormal for Redmond and for the east side. At this point in the investigation, it appears that this was a random attack. The individual who made the initial 911 call did remain on scene and provided a statement and the suspect description to officers.
Now, the suspect description isn't a ton. We know that it's either a white or Asian man, about 5'9", and apparently a slim build. Now, he was wearing a green hoodie at the time. I doubt he's still in that green hoodie, but perhaps if someone saw someone matching that description in that area, they can tell police, who can then look at where the sighting was, and perhaps there's some surveillance footage. But if you're, living in this particular neighborhood, generally don't get these kinds of stories out of Redmond. So we don't have to go crazy in saying y'all are in a neighborhood that is increasingly getting more dangerous. But it doesn't really matter. When something like this happens, it's going to freak people out. The randomness always makes me uncomfortable of all of this. Just in life in general, right? I've said this many times. You're walking down the street, bam, you get hit by a bus and you're dead. And the older you get, I think the more likely you are to think of these kinds of things versus when you're younger, you're sort of carefree. But when you get like a random stabbing, there's nothing really you can do except maybe get lucky to see the person coming so you can defend yourself. But the random nature of this is just always freaking me out, man. It's walking with I got a dog. Walking with a dog, and all of a sudden some guy, you have to be really alert at all times. And there are times when I'm walking and I'm kind of in my own head. I'm just singularly focused on the dog, and then I go through the whole, man, that's stupid. Look at that crazy person across the street who's singing to himself at the top of his lungs while naked. That's a potential threat, and we have to be aware of those threats all the time. The Linwood City Council is looking at an anti-ICE proposal after what happened over the weekend. They want to have, they say, aims to have local officers consider a resolution that would limit ICE's availability to operate in the city. There's only so much you can do about ICE operating in your city, by the way. And of course, it's a Linwood City Council getting involved on a bunch of stuff that they're not all that aware of anyway. Here's a council member, Isabel Mata, speaking with Cairo 7.
Local law enforcement cannot intervene in federal investigations of any kind, so their hands are tied. But if they're seeing somebody beating somebody up, using excessive force, breaking into a home without a warrant, they can't do nothing.
Oh my God. I like how she's concocted this idea that ICE is breaking into homes and then randomly beating people. Because that happens all the time. They're just completely random.
I think that it will escalate because that's just where it's trending right now. And I want to make sure that our community here in Linwood is as protected as possible.
Well, when I go for reassurance that I'm protected, I look to Isabel Mata because she's got it all figured out. Did you cut out the part where she's all like, and to be clear, I want to make sure that they continue to go after the rapists and murderers and drug dealers in our community because, that's also posing a threat to my neighbors.
I didn't cut anything, no.
You didn't cut that part out?
No.
Well, there's one more clip. It's 7 seconds. And I'm assuming she's going to say, we're welcoming to people except, of course, the criminal illegal immigrants who pose a clear and direct threat to our neighbors.
I want our immigrants to know that Linwood is a safe place for them. We want them here. And when their rights are being infringed upon, we're going to do something about it.
Okay. Again, no distinction at all between a violent criminal immigrant, illegal immigrant, and someone who is getting taken advantage of by a council member to mow her lawn. No distinction at all between those two groups. Could we make a little bit of a distinction? Even if you don't mean it, shouldn't you just say it because it's better optics? I don't need Isabel Mata to believe any of it. I'm going to presume that she's lying anyway. But why not just come out and say, look, we want to make sure that we're going about this the right way. Target the criminal illegal immigrants, the ones who are a violent threat, the worst of the worst, get them. But the charge of ICE and Border Patrol has gone too far because they're going after blah, blah. At least say it that way. But no one ever calls them out. A follow-up to this would be like, what about the ones you agree should be deported? It's like, who said I agree they should be deported? They're never going to ask that question. It's maddening.
It's a pretty simple question, too.
Well, maybe that's what's deceiving about it. It's too simple. And then you get in your own head, you're like, that's too simple a question. It feels like a trick. Are you trying to trick me? I'd be like, it's Deborah Horn.
I was going to say, would Deborah Horn ask it?
You think she's capable of asking a trick question? She's going to ask a question that she's going to be the one who answers it anyway. You won't even get a chance to answer. Deborah Horn will jump in. I miss Deborah.
I know.
Because all the people in local media now that we make fun of, it's because they're evil. and not just incompetent. Deborah was just wildly incompetent and bad at what she was doing. And now we don't have that person to mock.
But because she asked so many stupid questions, I almost wonder, with all this stuff going on with ICE and stuff, if she would have asked like a tough question just incidentally. Like
the chances of her accidentally asking a tough question is still very slim. I mean, we know the exact kind of. So, how do you feel? Scared? Yes. Oh, you feel scared, huh? I do. And that would be the whole thing. Instead of just asking, tell us how you feel, and then letting the person respond. She's like, you feel scared, right? So you get a one-word answer, which Deborah Horn loved because it meant she could follow up and get more airtime.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. There's going to be a course taught at like Green River Community College on what not to do in the field. And it will be exclusively taught through clips of Deborah Horn, who people had to pretend was good at what she was doing because she did it for 100 years and stayed, because she's probably in her late 60s, maybe early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's been doing it so long, she must be good. No, because you at some point get to an age where you're unfireable.
Yeah.
In TV, and you become an institution. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. 1-800-465-8770. When we come back, you pick the news. Story number 1. Ozempic is colliding with our eating habits in a way that makes total sense, but most people probably did not think about until it happened. Or story number 2. 4 common foods might be wrecking your gut health, according to an expert who doesn't know nearly as much as I do because I listen to podcasts by Dave Asprey and Dr. Hyman. So, which story should we discuss in great detail? You decide. We'll do it when we come back. 1-800-465-8770. Fatties or, well, also fatty. There's 2 fatty stories. Why'd you do that? Fatty 1 or Fatty 2?
Oh, I know. It's kind of your wheelhouse. So.
It's become my wheelhouse now. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Those of you interested in building your very own shop, horse arena, or farm equipment storage, Pac West Arenas will provide your engineering and a kit if needed. A kit includes step-by-step instructions, unlimited communication, and a one-time 4-hour site visit from an expert. If you also need engineering, Pac West Arenas will guarantee it in 10 business days. Consult an engineering and kit expert. Pac West Arenas, your one-stop shop for all your pole building needs. Go to pacwestarenas.com.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Sniffles and sneezes got you down? GoodRx is here to help with big savings on commonly prescribed cold and flu meds. GoodRx is free and easy to use. GoodRx is accepted at all major pharmacies like CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens. Just search your prescription, find a coupon, then show your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx is not insurance, but it works whether you have insurance or not. If you do, GoodRx may beat your copay price. Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com to save today.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's go.
You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Winter weather means slick roads, darker mornings, and more accidents across Western Washington. If you or someone you care about ends up on the side of the road after a crash, safety comes first. Get out of harm's way, exchange information, and make sure a police report is filed. But then make the most important call you can make. Herald Car Law Offices. That one call can save you time, frustration, and a whole lot of money. After an accident, your job is to heal and get back to your life, your family, your work. It's not to sit on hold with insurance companies or chase paperwork or argue over medical bills. That's what Herald Law Offices does for you. Their 48-person legal team handles the insurance companies, fights for the full value of your claim, and takes the stress off of your plate. They don't get paid unless you do. If you've been in a car accident this winter, remember the name you can trust. Herald Car Law Offices. Car is spelled C-A-R-R. They're online at carlaw.com. C-A-R-R. Carlaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR. And tell them Jason Rantz sent you. Carlaw.com.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Scott Jennings coming to Seattle Red.
Any idea how many people ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks?
Starting tonight on Seattle Red.
Over 2,500 murderers, fraudsters, predators, and gang members. Walls and Fry and the rest of these Democrats in Minnesota radicalizing and propagandizing.
Scott Jennings beginning tonight at 8 p.m. on Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and SeattleRed.com. You pick the topic on the Jason Rantz Show.
Indeed you do. And by the way, 425 says, let's do the GLP one, but I'm betting you'll do the second story, LOL. No, the GLP one is the one that got the most votes. What do you want from me? Maybe I'll try and sneak in the second one later on in the show, or if there's time, I'll do it now. So you went with the Ozempic effect. This is probably the most imaginable collision you can think of. Ozempic versus the Cheesecake Factory. Because that's what this is about. Fox News has this piece out explaining what restaurants are now doing as a direct result of this Ozempic culture that's only going to get more Ozempic-fied because it's now in pill form. Mm-hmm. And I think next month or maybe 2 months from now, one of the other injectables is going to be released in pill form, which, look, if I'm totally open about this, I would 100% take a pill to make it easier to quiet the so-called food noise. Although, weirdly enough, I've been dialed in. I don't really get hungry all that often anymore. Like this morning, I had to force feed myself, essentially, because I just wasn't hungry, but I knew I needed to get some protein in.
I feel like once you get kind of in a rhythm, your body just adapts.
Yeah, it figures it all out. Now, this was a year ago, it was difficult for me, and I would have killed for a pill that you could take so long as it doesn't make you nauseous, because I already get nauseous as it is off of the 10,000 supplements I'm taking. Dave Asprey, by the way, is going to be on the show in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I am so excited for that. I'm going to talk to him for like 4 hours. He's going to be very upset.
They're going to be like, this is not what was promised to us.
We were told it would be 15 minutes tops, and we're 3.5 hours in. So this article says the Ozempic boom is real, and it's starting to dramatically shift eating habits at restaurants. And so people who are on these drugs, they're ordering less food, leaving more food on their plate, they're skipping desserts, and they're kind of behaving like they live and eat in Europe. They have much different portion sizes outside of the United Kingdom or any tourist area. If you were to eat like a local in, say, Paris, you're eating like sensible, high-quality meals. That's the difference here. We definitely don't have high-quality food at restaurants mostly, but they do there. Here, you're just getting huge servings. There, you're not. And so, because Ozempic and all the other drugs suppress appetite, essentially, people who used to inhale an appetizer and then an entree and then a dessert, they're stopping halfway through the main course. And as a result, restaurants started to panic because they're built on volume. They're not necessarily, they'll sell you vibes, but that's not what they're built on. They're not built on portion control. They're built on volume. And we're talking about the kinds of restaurants like an Applebee's and a Cheesecake Factory. We're not talking about the Michelin star meal where you're still hungry after you eat a 10-course meal. That's not the ones we're talking about. And so what they're doing is they're shrinking portions. They're giving you smaller plates. They're offering lighter menus, and they're taking off of their menus the more indulgent items. And they're framing this all as being health conscious. But the truth is, it's just about economic survival. America spent decades normalizing insane portion sizes. And so let's just say, as much as I feel bad for the restaurants that are struggling, this is well overdue. Like, well overdue. This idea used to go to places like, do we have Claim Jumper here? Probably Tukwila.
We did, yeah.
Like, that, I remember as a kid, I went to Claim Jumper, and even as a child, I was like, the hell is this? What? This meal is huge. There's no way anyone, and that's a dare, to eat everything. And it's a 10,000 calorie meal.
It's insane. Yeah.
It's just, it's really disgusting. Outback Steakhouse, that was the same, like all of these kinds of Applebee's and whatnot. It's disgusting. And it's precisely why there are so many people on Ozempic to begin with. And as much, again, as I feel bad generally for businesses that are struggling, yeah, you can cope on this one. You are all directly responsible for the obesity epidemic, a huge portion, at least, ironically, pun intended, of the problem is because of these restaurants. So now they're essentially being forced into changing directions. And the funny thing is, it's not like they're truly making their food any healthier. It's just smaller portions, which is obviously better than the larger portions. But if you're on Ozempic, you shouldn't be eating this crap to begin with. Why would you go on Ozempic and suffer the serious side effects of like hardcore nausea and, you know, in some cases blindness, I think was like one of like, there's a lot of, it's rare, but there's a lot of gastrointestinal stuff going on with Ozempic or Wegovy and whatever that other one is. What's the other one?
Zepbound.
Like, why would you then go to Cheesecake Factory? So you're suffering through all of this and you're still going to eat that kind of crap?
Well, what I love about Cheesecake Factory is they have like 10,000 items on their menu, so you know that they do all of them beautifully.
It's just, if your menu is more than a page,
That's
and
a problem, yeah.
I'm not counting beverages, just a food, just you already know the quality cannot be great. You might like the price, something I'm sympathetic towards, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who would love to get better quality food, but they just can't afford it. The reality is, even places like Applebee's way more expensive now than they used to be. It's still cheap in the context of like going to a Michelin star restaurant. I wish they would just offer, it's not even like you can't make food that tastes as addictive as the garbage stuff without it being a little bit healthier. And what kills me is that there's some people who think some of the quote-unquote healthy foods are actually healthy, but not really, especially, again, not in the portion sizes that some people eat. This is just good news all around. That's definitely one of the positives from the Ozempic culture. Shifting the way restaurants operate. And again, to your point earlier, Jackson, when you get used to like eating like a normal person and eating relatively healthy food, all the cravings just go away.
I think that people don't realize like how quickly you can get full too, but they eat so fast and so much that they eat way more than they need.
Yeah, and I'm not in that camp of like chew it 112 times until it's basically soup. Like, no, but you slow down just a little bit and dial in your diet, and all of a sudden everything gets so much easier. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55. But unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Nick, did you know this is called quit time? Did you know what that is?
I do not know.
That means right about this time of the year, people quit their New Year's resolutions.
Oh, kind of like last year.
Okay, never mind. The important thing is that both of us made a New Year's resolution that we would take better care of ourselves for each other. And we're holding to that.
We are not flaming out because...
Longevity Medical Clinic. So we get the support of Longevity. We told them what our goals were, and they're like, absolutely, we'll get you in line. So they support me, they support you, and then as a couple, they're making us accountable for the decisions we make. So we're not going to be quitting on these things. I can't remember what your New Year's resolution was around the house.
My New Year's resolution around the house was that I was going to try to get you to start putting things away.
And I was going to get you to actually learn how to cook a piece of chicken.
Oh, well, that's for next year.
Okay, fine. Either way, we've got a team behind us. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Skagit County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
They're talking. I'm Tom Rigotti, Fox News. Conversation between President Trump and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry could mean some federal agents may soon leave Minnesota. Fox's Gernal Scott reports.
Mayor Fry said he and the president agreed in their call that the situation as it stands can't continue. Fry asked to end Operation Metro Surge. While the president didn't agree to that, Mayor Fry said some agents will begin leaving Minnesota Tuesday. Trump border czar Tom Homan will come in to lead the operation. In a Truth Social post, the president, who called the chat with Fry very good, said Homan would continue the dialogue. The president also had a conversation Monday with Governor Tim Walz and said they were on a similar wavelength. Walz called the conversation productive in a statement. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Residents of the Big Apple are facing cold temperatures after a major winter storm hit the city. Fox Weather's Robert Ray is in New York.
The snow just came in, turned into sleet later in the day, and thousands of tourists and residents of New York City moving across the streets as the cavalry of snow plows and salt droppers made its way through Manhattan and the 5 boroughs. Over 19,000 lane miles to clear. They are still working on it. The airports totally snarled. From LaGuardia shut down yesterday to JFK and Newark. Thousands of delays and cancellations still ensue, and that trickle moving across the country.
Forecasters are tracking another potential winter storm that could bring a fresh wave of snow and cold air to the Northeast as early as this weekend. Hundreds of thousands of Americans remain without electricity following the massive winter storm. That's especially true in the Southeast. Around 675,000 customers have no power. Tennessee has been the hardest hit state. America's listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming on the Seattle Red app. Scott Jennings stops by at 5:30, talk about all the madness in Minnesota, but also because he's our brand new host. His show, Scott Jennings Show, starts tonight, 8 o'clock. We're really proud to have him on the Seattle Red team. He's really pumped to be here as well. And boy, do we need a voice like that right now. But speaking of all the madness in Minnesota, some of it is starting again on the streets of Seattle, just about a mile and a half from here. That's what's trending, brought to you by Legacy Group Capital, Common Sense Lending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
There is a protest that apparently is getting underway at the federal building in downtown Seattle. Same thing that happened over the weekend is happening again today, except more people will be impacted as they block traffic at a horrible time. Don't know how long the protests will go. They usually do a little bit of a march, then they end up back at the federal building. They don't actually get anything done. They don't accomplish anything other than block traffic, but they're not really doing it to get anything done. They're doing it because they are the one, every single one of them, who is out there to fill some void in their own lives. That's why they're doing this. Now, if you're someone who protests every so often, that's a little bit different. These are people who are professionals, meaning this is what they do. They show up to protest after protest after protest. They're highly organized. This is what they do as a hobby, as a life's goal and mission. That's much different than someone who is moved to take to the streets because they're angry or passionate about something. They're always angry. They're always anti-Trump. They're always anti-capitalism and anti-law enforcement and anti-establishment. That's who they are. And it's the same people who show up every single time. Their movement is not growing. It's exactly the same as it was over the weekend, and every once in a while they'll pick up some stragglers. BLM as a movement started in that way, right? It was the nationwide movement because people actually believed the propaganda that they were being told. And the same thing is happening here, although much more muted in the context of BLM. That was a major movement. That inspired a whole bunch of people. It was inspiration on false information, this claim that officers were going out there wantonly murdering black people. And in a way, they're following the exact same strategy as it relates to their anti-ICE stuff, right? ICE agents are going door to door, dragging people out of their homes and then shooting them in the back of the head. That's what we're being told. Now, that's going to inspire some people to take to the streets, but isn't it interesting that we're not seeing the same nationwide protests as we did before? Why do you think that is? Remember, that nationwide protest for BLM happened during a pandemic where people were scared to go outside, and yet it inspired a whole bunch of people. Why is it in this case people aren't taking to the streets? It's getting the same level of media coverage as BLM, isn't it? You can tune into any conservative or liberal network. It gets the same amount of coverage, what's going on right now with some of the protests, but they're clearly not as large. Clearly not as large. So why is that? Because people aren't as far to the left on this issue than the folks on the left want us to believe. Now, that's good news. That's good news. But they are working overtime to gin up anger. I mean, Bob Ferguson, for some reason, alongside the former Survivor contestant, not even good enough to win Survivor, but I guess good enough for Washington Attorney General, Nick Brown, was out having their press conference. Who asked for a press conference from Governor Bob Ferguson? Who was wondering what his thoughts were on this? And we played you audio in the last hour. He basically said that he's got the National Guard on standby should he need to protect the public from ICE. So he wants to put the National Guard to go up against ICE. That's not going to happen. Can't actually legally happen, by the way. But he already put that out there. And then he said Alex Preddy, who was shot and killed over the weekend, needlessly, but was pushed into a position from the left to engage with ICE officers who were at something doing nothing having to do with him. He decided to engage. He ends up getting killed. It was a tragedy. I think the shot was taken, or shots were taken in good faith, but I think they were the wrong decisions to be made. But I'm told that he was totally peaceful and that ICE is acting un-American.
The victim was a United States citizen, an ICU nurse who worked with veterans, and he was peacefully exercising his constitutional rights.
No, he wasn't. That's not true. That part's not true. And this drives me nuts. They've got some talking points that are reasonable on this particular one. And it was the Republicans who initially put out, under Kristi Noem and Bovino, I think they were over the top with some of their rhetoric. And I think it's reasonable to call that out, to criticize that. I think it's logical to criticize that. Oh, well, he was armed. Well, he wasn't brandishing the weapon. You get to be armed. And the people who immediately use that on the right to justify the shooting, I think they did the wrong thing. The shooting might have been completely justified, but you don't have to lean into the hyperbole. The left doesn't have to lean into the hyperbole. Now they're just pretending he was peacefully protesting. No, that's not what the video shows. He wasn't peacefully protesting. He was interfering with an immigration arrest or an immigration action. He was interfering. Now, should that automatically mean you're going to get shot? No, of course not. Does it mean it can happen? Yeah, it can. That's what it can mean.
And now he's dead. Over the course of the last year, including on my State of the State address, I have repeatedly spoken about how un-American it is to have masked federal agents in unmarked cars plucking people off the streets and from their workplaces.
Yeah, they're just randomly plucking people. Meanwhile, I gave you in the last hour the names of criminal illegal immigrants who were, I guess, plucked from their cars, their homes, or their businesses by ICE, who are rapists, convicted rapists, by the way, or wanted for murder in their home countries. That apparently is un-American. And ICE is out of control.
ICE is, to be blunt, completely and totally out of control. To say that I'm angry is not the right word. I don't have the right word for how I feel about it.
Well, that's because you don't have a large Rolodex of words, I suppose. I mean, that's because you're not particularly bright, I guess. I know a word that can describe Bob Ferguson.
What?
Exploitative.
Oh.
Shameful. Ghoulish. I like this whole, I am so angry. I'm bottling it up, but I'm so angry. Meanwhile, you've got both now the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis out saying they had conversations with the president that went really well. The president is smart. He's obviously not monitoring the day-to-day operation of ICE or CBP. Like he's not in charge of that. He's trusting people to get it done. And when they're not able to get it done to his satisfaction, he makes a replacement. That's what he's doing, sending Tom Homan in. And it seems like the president is the one who's dialing all of this back. Meanwhile, you've got Tim Walz out there claiming that kids are like Anne Frank in Minneapolis right now. It's just so disgusting. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Travel.
Airlines are adding extra flights to get Seahawks fans down to either San Francisco or Oakland, although it looks like mostly San Francisco, so then they can make the drive down to Santa Clara for the Super Bowl. Obviously, huge victory over the weekend. It was a great game, maybe a little bit closer than anyone wanted it to be, but I think most people generally accepted that it was going to be close because the Rams are a good team, and they played well yesterday. But the Seahawks played just a little bit better. But now we're told Alaska Airlines is adding 16 round-trip flights to its schedule so that fans can get to the Bay Area for the Super Bowl. They've added specific, and by the way, I say Oakland, they're actually adding to both San Francisco and San Jose. And as far as I know, it's only Alaska Airlines doing this. It's possible we might get something from Delta, and maybe I just missed it. But the only announcement I saw today was coming from Alaska Airlines. They are adding, or United Airlines is adding one direct round-trip flight between Seattle as well, according to Cairo 7 TV. And they say the fans might notice something special about the flight number headed into the game. Let's see if anyone at home, I won't give you the answer yet, but let's see if people can pretend that this is all that important. Flight 1411 from Seattle to San Jose on February 7th. What's 1411? Anyone? Sam Darnold's number is 14 and Jackson Smith and Jigba is 11, so 1411. What are the chances that that was done intentionally and that was not just completely random? What if it was some other random number? It just so happens to be a player's. It would be like it's Sam Darnold and Woolen or whatever that guy's name is. They also have a flight from San Jose to Seattle on February 9th. American Airlines added, so I guess there are more. I only saw the Alaska Airlines. Maybe Alaska Airlines did the most because this one says American Airlines also added additional flights. One flight each on February 5, 6, and 7 from Seattle to San Jose. They say following the game, the airline will offer 2 special flights from San Jose to Seattle on February 9th with a special flight number paying homage to the 12th man, Flight 412. How is that an homage to just because you have 12 in the number? It's 412. You can book all these flights now. This is kind of interesting to me because I don't want to criticize a smart business decision, especially by the hometown airline, Alaska Airlines. But it's rather telling that they waited until today, Monday, to add these flights. Because one might say, if they were looking to cause some trouble, for example, in the world of PR, one might argue they did not think that the Seattle Seahawks would get to the Super Bowl, which is why they had to wait until after the game was won before they made this announcement, rather than preemptively say, we're offering these flights to the Super Bowl because we're certain that the Seahawks are going to make it. Now, I'm not saying that. I can actually argue against that because it was so funny. Last week, I was listening to some folks talk about just planning for Super Bowl travel should the Seahawks win. And there's zero way around that kind of planning. You have to plan as early as humanly possible because you're now competing with the most, talked about, not global, but national sporting event of the year. And there are only so many hotels and flights, etc. So you have to get in as early as possible. But part of me was thinking to myself, oh God, you're talking about it and I know you have to, and I would too, but doesn't that make you a little bit nervous that you're going to jinx something and the Seahawks are going to lose? Oh, doesn't it feel like we're going to jinx it every time? Like that was in the back of my mind as I was hearing people plan out everything. And so I suppose if I'm Alaska Airlines and some bad faith conservative talk show host is saying, see, this shows you they didn't think the Seahawks would make it. All they have to do is say, oh no, we knew. We just didn't want to put out any bad juju during all of this. And then I'll accuse them of saying juju because I'm a Jew. And then they say, no, it's a common saying. And then I'll say, well, that's cultural appropriation. Then they'll have to apologize. And then they'll pick up some other language. They'll say bad vibes, which will trigger me for all sorts of different reasons. Because why is everyone saying the word vibes all of a sudden? But in any case, that's what I would do if I were them and someone, bad faith, not me, accuse them of not truly believing that the Seahawks were capable of making it to the Super Bowl. I will say this because I watched the game, as I said earlier. It was a good game. I was glad that I watched. I bought into the hype. I'm not certain I'm as hyped up for this as I was for the Mariners or as caught up as I was for the Mariners, mostly because the Mariners went forever without getting into the postseason, not even just the World Series. So because of the timing, that made me a little bit more excited, I suppose, and caught up versus the Seahawks, who have made it to back-to-back Super Bowls and won one of the Super Bowls. So, I was not as caught up, but I did find myself yesterday, saying to myself, I'm glad I'm watching this game. And I'm glad D'Artagnan, my dog, hasn't had to pee at all during the first half, to the point where during halftime, I rushed him outside to get him to go so we can come back so I wouldn't miss the second half. That's how, engaged I was, which is, again, very rare. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? You can't make this up.
A Minnesota Vikings play-by-play announcer had to apologize earlier today for comments he made about paid protesters last week, comments that were completely accurate and in context, but I suppose in fairness to management who might have been mad about this, you can make the argument reasonably so, I think, reasonably so, that when you're a sports broadcaster, you should probably just stick to the sports and not get into the politics. So the guy's name is Paul Allen. Don't know who this guy is. Never heard of him, obviously. He's local to Minnesota. He's the local play-by-play voice for the Vikings. And they were getting into a conversation about cold weather. And it was him and his co-host. And they were bringing up different ways that football players might be able to combat the cold, mitigate the impacts of the cold, because obviously that can have an impact on the game. And one of the ideas was to put cayenne pepper in someone's socks to generate heat, something I've never heard of before. But then Paul Allen, not our Paul Allen, their Paul Allen, made a joke about the paid protesters on the station is KFan.
In conditions like this, do paid protesters get hazard pay? Those are the things that I've been thinking about this morning.
Yeah, probably not going to touch that one.
Everybody's
wise.
catching strays this week. Flores, Kevin Stefanski from Baker, Charlie Biatch caught one out of nowhere. They're just all, paid protesters caught one this morning. But just how truly important is this?
So clearly the paid protesters line is based in truth and a little bit of hyperbole, right? There's no one out there arguing that every single protester who shows up to the streets of Minneapolis or anywhere are quote unquote paid protesters. That is a term that's used for professional protesters, activists, the ones who sometimes literally make a living going out and organizing and showing up, but the ones who've committed their lives to this, where they're willing to put down any other responsibility so they can show up on a whim if they need to, but whenever they're called. That's what the whole paid protester line is. Again, some of them are, in fact, literally paid. Now, I reject the idea, although I'm sure some of it exists, I reject the general concept that, people are just putting out ads to have people show up for pay to pretend to protest. I've seen some of those screenshots of like Craigslist ads. Those ads are fake and they are put up by people who are trolling the right. But very obviously, there's organizing going on. And you can tell that there's organizing going on because when everyone is all of a sudden chanting the exact same slogan that we've heard at socialist and progressive rallies around the country for the last several years, that's the tip-off. When they show up with gas masks, expensive ones, that is the tip-off. These are professional activists. And because we know that there's organizing going on and not everyone is a volunteer organizer, some of them are getting paid, you can accurately say that there are paid protesters who are showing up. However, he is a sports host. He probably should not have made mention. It's the same if I all of a sudden did nonstop sports talk radio, the X's and O's for 3 hours. My boss would be like, you're a conservative political talk show host. You're supposed to be talking about the news. I'm like, oh, no, we were talking about the Super Bowl coming up now. Yeah, but you did 3 hours and you were talking about defense strategies versus offensive strategies and all these, they'd be right to call me out. So Paul Allen, I'm assuming, got called into the program director's office and said, hey, you, I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know when exactly, but your comments got picked up by the interwebs. Probably by paid protesters who are now pretending to be upset with what you said. You better apologize because we don't want any of that drama.
I made a comment on Air Friday about protesters and the weather that was insensitive and poorly timed, and I'm sorry. It was a misguided attempt at humor, and while it was never meant with any ill intent or...
By the way, people who want to pretend that it was delivered with ill intent, they're not going to be happy with this apology. To be clear, they will not be happy with this apology. Because they're never happy. No one actually heard his statements and were offended. No one heard those statements and said his intent was to be mean-spirited and insensitive. That's absolute nonsense.
Or political affront. I absolutely and wholeheartedly want to apologize to those who genuinely were hurt or offended by it. 9 to noon doesn't formulate political opinions. We don't bash or praise political discussions or even focus on political issues. This time slot always has been a sports-centered space built to entertain, a place where we chat about sports, offer an escape from the heavy stuff, and give listeners the distraction they need from everything else going on.
That didn't work. Did it?
I've stated many times before, we serve you, not the other way around. We're very fortunate, and thank you for counting on us as long as you have. It means more than you'll ever know. My best was lacking Friday, and for that I am sorry. I am taking a few days off, but wanted to express these thoughts and my sincere apology with you before I do.
So now he's off air for a few days, which is just so absolutely ridiculous. Unless this was a planned vacation, which every once in a while does in fact happen. I've known of planned vacations when then controversy erupts. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for that person because no one's going to believe him. This does not sound like this planned vacation. This sounds like he's being forced into an apology and then basically being told, you're going to take some time off while this blows over. And I don't know if it'll blow over. I don't. Things are a little bit different in Minnesota than they are in Washington. I could have made the exact same comments, and people wouldn't bat an eye. They wouldn't call it, the intended with ill intent. They wouldn't say that the intent was to make people feel bad. They would just say, hey, that's a conservative talk show host who's providing his opinion, which would have been the case. So it's a little bit different. And obviously, because this is going on in Minnesota, not in Washington, the sensitivities are obviously going to be a little bit different. And remember, this was a comment that was made before what happened over the weekend happened. This was before Alex Preddy was killed. This happened on Friday. So and again, the reason why I don't think this was some planned vacation time for him was that he had to go in. That was a recorded apology. So he had to go in. They probably said, hey, you're going to record this apology. We're going to air it, and then you're going to take some time off. That's almost certainly what's going to happen. Now, whether or not he gets fired, I don't know. I'm not familiar with this guy's background or the radio ownership and how they normally handle these kinds of things. But, he shouldn't be fired for, even if his intent was to mock people, that was not even remotely close to a fireable offense. 1-800-465-8770. Speaking of all the nonsense going on in Minnesota, we're so grateful to have a brand new host joining us on Seattle Red, because with all this chaos, we could use another tool in our toolbox, our rhetorical toolbox, to go after these really bad arguments being made in bad faith by folks on the left. Scott Jennings, you know him best from CNN. He's also a radio host, and he will be joining us on the Seattle Red lineup starting tonight at 8 o'clock. His show is 8 to 10, Monday through Friday. Best of Scott Jennings is on Sundays at 6 p.m., and Scott will be stopping by in just a few moments to take us through his thoughts over the weekend and what we can expect from his radio show. I know a whole lot of liberals on Twitter and Facebook were very, very, very upset when we made the news. So that makes me even more excited. Scott Jennings when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
How about a simple New Year's resolution, one that even I was able to achieve? Reverse the clock on hair loss with Advanced Hair's simple one-day FUE treatment. You'll feel more confident and more youthful when you witness your own natural hair growing into those places that have been balding or thinning for years. I'm surprised and relieved every time I look in the mirror. You need to know what that feels like. From Advanced Hair's breakthrough technology to their highly experienced team, there is no one I would trust more than Advanced Hair Restoration. I experienced their exceptional standard of care firsthand. Your comfort and your results are the top priority of the entire Advanced Hair team. Celebrate this new year with a fuller head of hair and get a free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 425-449-8185. That's 425-449-8185. Discover what meeting your resolutions could look like with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes around the Sound for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. And with my luxurious marketing, you'll attract tons of buyers, sell fast at top dollar, and net more money. Because Upgrade Realty will save you thousands in fees for only 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
More than 4,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every year in Washington state.
I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide a lifeline to breast and gynecologic cancer patients, and you can help us make a difference. Join us for Cork, Fork, and Support, an afternoon of wine tasting and inspiration on January 31st at Mary Hill Winery in Woodinville's Wine Country. Get your tickets now for Cork, Fork, and Support. Go to nwhopeandhealing.org to learn more.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
Scott Jennings coming to Seattle Red.
Any idea how many people ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks?
Starting tonight on Seattle Red.
Over 2,500 murderers, fraudsters, predators, and gang members. Walls and Fry and the rest of these Democrats in Minnesota radicalizing and propagandizing.
Scott Jennings beginning tonight at 8 p.m. on Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and seattlered.com. The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal.
I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
So we have huge news for Seattle Red listeners. Scott Jennings joins us weeknights, 8 p.m. starting tonight, right here on Seattle Red, 770 a.m. And it couldn't come at a better time. Chaos continues to unfold. Tensions continue to escalate in Minneapolis and around the country, this time after the fatal shooting of an anti-ICE activist named Alex Preddy. We could use Scott's voice and insight now more than ever as part of the conversation, and he joins me now. Scott Jennings, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And Jason, it's an honor to be part of Seattle Red. I'm looking forward to getting started tonight.
Yeah, we're looking forward to have you. For folks who don't know, I mean, it kind of feels like you came out of nowhere. You're known for some very viral moments on CNN, but this is not something that just happened overnight. You've been working in D.C., you've been working in the world of politics for a while now.
That's true. I've been in politics for about 25 years. I've been with CNN for almost 9 years now, but really the last couple of years from the presidential campaign through the aftermath of all that. That's really where it's become a bigger part of my life. And, you know, and you've been out there with me on CNN a few times. That debating show at 10 o'clock really has given a platform for a lot of us to air out conservative views in a format that people are surprised to hear them. And often when the liberals run into guys like us, their arguments crumble and our arguments rise up. And it does lead to these viral moments on the internet.
It's always fun not just to engage in the debates, but for me as someone who's relatively new on the CNN side, I've done Fox for the last 6 years or so, but don't generally get to do any debates. It's usually just me solo. But to debate is a lot of fun. But then to talk to people afterwards who say, well, what are the breaks like during the commercial breaks? And sometimes it's a little awkward.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. You know, it depends on who you get. But I have to tell you, in the last month or so, it feels like it's gotten a lot more hysterical. I think it's all related to Minneapolis in this situation. You know, it's like a lot of other workplaces, I'm sure. There are some reasonable people around, but then you run into some hysterical people. And what always kills me is the people who are living in an alternate reality where they have constructed for themselves a set of facts and circumstances that just aren't true, and they use those alternate realities then to drive their hysteria. And I feel like that's the position we're always in, is when we're out at the table to try to, okay, here are some facts. Let's be calm. You know, let's let's be logical, because you're often just debating people who are flying off the handle really from the get-go of these debates.
Well, what happened in Minneapolis over the weekend actually, I think, is a really good example of creating a narrative. I think that reasonable people can argue, even with the administration's initial handling of the shooting, and certainly people can look at the video in this case and perhaps question whether or not Preddy should have been labeled as some sort of domestic terrorist off the bat, even though I totally understand where the administration is coming from. But rather than have just an honest and good faith debate, immediately you have Senator Patty Murray, you have Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and so many others saying that this was an execution. And you've got people say that this person was just murdered, 10 shots. It's just, that's completely unnecessary, but it doesn't seem like they're interested in an honest conversation about this.
No, they're not. And a couple of things that jump out for me today. The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, once again proved himself to be the biggest buffoon in American politics when he compared this to the situation of Anne Frank. I mean, you have to be a special kind of dummy to get yourself reprimanded by the U.S. Holocaust Museum as the governor of Minnesota, okay? You have to come up with something really especially stupid. But that's what's happened today. He compares this to Anne Frank, and now he's being reprimanded by the U.S. Holocaust Museum and also Jewish leaders around the country. He previously compared this to the Battle of Gettysburg. You get the impression, Jason, that Tim Walz actually likes seeing these people out on the street inserting themselves into law enforcement. I mean, while the chaos was unfolding Sunday night while they were attacking the hotel where ICE was sleeping, he said he was, quote, damn proud of Minnesota. Now, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me, Walz, and I know Trump is talking to him today, but it just seems to me the chaos is good for him to distract from this massive fraud investigation. That's about when all this started. When the fraud was uncovered, that's about when all this chaos started, and that's about when the rhetoric from Walz started to ramp up.
What do you make of the initial reactions from the Trump administration on this shooting?
Well, I think it's always prudent to wait. You don't have to be the first person to say something. It's always better to be, when you're in a position of authority, to be accurate. Mm-hmm. Fast is good. Accurate is better. And it strikes me that that's what you should be striving for here. I also think you don't have to be hyperbolic. I mean, it strikes me that in all these situations, they were caused by one problem. Somebody who shouldn't have done it inserted themselves into a law enforcement situation, whether that was the Renee Good situation or Preddy. They both did essentially the same thing. They inserted themselves where they shouldn't have been. That is a crime. And then beyond that, we're going to look into it and report back to you. I think that is the most prudent way to handle these things. When you start to get into hyperbolic statements, it probably doesn't help your cause. But obviously, if you look at the video, in either case, you see a citizen inserting themselves into law enforcement situations. It's a case where I think most reasonable people would say, well, that sounds right to me. You don't need the hyperbole to make that point.
Well, and again, it's important to note that they're being encouraged to insert themselves into this by other left-wing activists, but also by politicians. And if everyone would dial it down just a little bit, we would not have seen what we saw over the weekend.
Absolutely. And you know, what did Tim Walz do? He activated the National Guard and ordered them to give coffee and donuts to the people who are out there inserting themselves into these situations and attacking the hotel last night. You know, this also comes down to a question of cooperation. I mean, the real debate here, Jason, is whether state and local officials are going to cooperate with federal immigration officers in handing over illegal aliens to people in their custody. Now, Walz says that the state prisons do that, and that's true, but that's not really the debate. The debate is over the city of Minneapolis and the county jails, and they absolutely do not. They will not, and Jacob Fry, the mayor, has said they will not cooperate. So, you know, 90% of ICE agents would probably leave Minneapolis today if they would turn the city and county jails into centers of cooperation, and that really is where the debate ought to be centered. This could all end today if city and county jails would cooperate like they do in places all across the country.
Scott Jennings joining me on the line. He's host of The Scott Jennings Show, heard weeknights, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on Seattle Red. Tonight's the very first night. Tom Homan apparently has been sent in or is being sent into Minneapolis to talk with both sides this at the same time that we've heard some reporting on the back end that kind of behind the scenes, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem's camps are not necessarily in alignment, that Tom Homan, and again, I don't know to the extent that the reporting's accurate, suggests that they're not going after the worst of the worst as consistently as he would like. They've been doing, I think, a really good job of not bringing that kind of drama to the extent that it exists public, but obviously it's being discussed behind the scenes. Seems like the president is siding with Tom Homan. Tom Homan to Minnesota, smart move?
Well, I think Tom Homan is respected by everybody. I mean, he, after all, did get a major award from Barack Obama over his work in the federal government back in those days. And, you know, there's a reason that he exists in the Trump White House today. Everybody respects him. And so sometimes when you have a chaotic situation, sending in somebody with fresh eyes and who's respected by all sides is a good idea. Again, I just go back to the ultimate conversation. Can you get cooperation from the city and county jails? That's question number one. You cannot have a situation, in my opinion, where the federal government is run out of town. That cannot be. I mean, they're in a state of insurrection. You know, these local Democrats think that they could be seceding here from federal laws. You can't allow that. You cannot allow the feds to be run out of town. If you do, it'll be open season on law enforcement, and you'll have insurrection and secessionist talk all over the country. And so the feds have to win this. How they win it is up in the air. I suspect Tom Homan's got some ideas here. But you would hope that sending him there and his conversations between Trump and Walz will settle things down. Look, Walz, I have so little confidence in. I don't know. But if he could get Jacob Frey to open up the Minneapolis jail, that would go a long way.
Yeah, there are some really simple things that they could do. If they wanted to call the president's bluff here, if they believe that the president is intentionally having ICE and CBP go into the streets and you know, crack skulls, all they would have to do is basic cooperation that's not controversial outside of the progressive base. I mean, how much of the issue is it just the progressive base does not want any cooperation between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement on immigration? They don't make a distinction between
the entire issue.
Yeah.
It's the whole issue. They don't make a distinction between any kind of immigration, and they believe that federal immigration laws should not be enforced. In Minneapolis or really anywhere, that is now the position of the Democratic Party, is we don't think we should have any deportation. So during Biden, you let in 20 million people, and during Trump, we're going to stop you from deporting any of them. I mean, that is their position. And now you see Democrats in Washington threatening to hold up the appropriations process over funding of DHS because that's what their base wants. It's a pretty strange, you know, position really for a political party to say federal laws should not be enforced. Look, if you want to change the laws, that's your prerogative. But these laws have been on the books for a very long time. We haven't passed any new immigration laws since Donald Trump became the president. These are existing laws. They simply don't think they should be enforced in places where Democrats are governor or Democrats are mayor. And that's really kind of a crazy view, in my opinion.
So for someone who's brand new to the Scott Jennings Show, what can they expect tonight at 8 and every weeknight, 8 to 10?
Well, the Scott Jennings Show always begins with a news roundup or a news monologue. Tonight, I'll give you my thoughts on the situation in Minnesota. We're also today tracking stories related to the snow around the country and the use of fossil fuels to keep the electrical grid fired up on the East Coast and in the Midwest. Had a conversation today with Josh Hammer, who's the editor-at-large with Newsweek, and we also invited on Congressman Jeff Crank of Colorado Springs to talk about what's going on in Washington. So what you can expect is news, comment, and really good interviews every single day. And we track the breaking news as it unfolds on the show.
We are so excited to have you here at Seattle Red. Again, Scott Jennings Show, weeknights, 8 to 10 p.m. Do not miss it. You can also catch it on the Seattle Red app as well as the smart speaker stream. Thank you, Scott, so much for coming on, and I look forward to hearing you tonight at 8 p.m., and I look forward to the next time you and I are on a panel on CNN.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you. I'm honored by this invitation to join Seattle Red. I can't wait to get started, and we won't let you down. It's common sense for the American people every night at 8 here on Seattle Red.
I love it. Look, he's already knows how to do the promos and everything. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, we're going to dive into some quick hits right here on Seattle Red, 770 AM, online at seattlered.com.
Be Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/Tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
All Americans should do what they can to prepare for the future. Donald Trump Jr. here with an important message. More and more Americans are looking for ways to diversify their hard-earned money, and gold is the perfect solution. For example, a gold IRA from my trusted friends at the Birch Gold Group lets you diversify your IRA or 401k into physical gold with zero taxes and zero penalties. You stay in control with a tangible asset that's held value for thousands of years. And right now, Birch Gold is offering a free info kit to help you understand how it works. Just text the word SECURE, SECURE, to 989898. There's no pressure, no obligation, just the facts. You can't predict the future, but you can be prepared, but only if you educate yourself. So take that first step right now. Text SECURE to the number 989898 today. That's SECURE to 989898.
If your furnace isn't working right, that's an All Red emergency. Call the heat doctors at All Red Heating, Cooling, and Electric. Our licensed and certified techs bring the heat, treating every brand of furnace, from quick diagnostics to on-the-spot repairs and getting your home warm again fast with no surprise upfront pricing. Go to trustallred.com because if it's all red, it's all right. Trustallred.com.
If it's all red, it's all right.
If you need security for your event or business, contact Security Services Northwest. From armed and unarmed officers to advanced remote monitoring, they've been doing it all since 1977. Go to ssnwhq.com for Security Services Northwest.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
Well, the chief of NATO pointed something else out today that I think is worth paying attention to. Last week, obviously, he showed yet again his support for President Donald Trump in the context of the conversations around U.S. interests in Greenland, and not even just interests in Greenland. We want Greenland, right? We want it. But I want to frame that conversation up around comments that were made today by Secretary General Mark Rutte, who is Danish, by the way. I think he was the former PM of Denmark. I'm near certain. But he was giving a speech to the European Union Parliament in Brussels. And he mentioned something that should go without saying, but it should be said because I think a lot of people like to forget that the United States is the only one who can help keep Europe as a whole safe. And they can't do a job defending itself without the United States. And that is even more so the truth when it comes to Greenland.
So when President Trump is doing good stuff, I will praise him. And I don't mind him publishing text messages. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. we can't. We need each other. And why do we need each other? I tell you. First of all, because also the US needs NATO. And the US is not only in NATO to prevent a mistake after the First World War, not to re-engage with Europe. And then again, the long arm of history reaching out to the US again in the Second World War, as Churchill famously said in his speech in 1941 in the US Congress. They are also in NATO because for the US to stay safe, and by the way, Arctic region is evidence here, they need a secure Arctic, they need a secure Euro-Atlantic, and they also need a secure Europe. So the US has every interest in NATO as much as Canada and the European NATO allies. But for Europe, if you really want to go it alone, and those who are planning for that, forget that you can ever get there with 5%. It will be 10%. You have to build up your own nuclear capability. That costs billions and billions of euros. You will lose then, in that scenario, you would lose the ultimate guarantor of our freedom, which is the US nuclear umbrella. Good luck.
Good luck. Now, look, there are some people who just want to brush off all of this as some sort of oddball obsession by not just Donald Trump, by Republicans in Washington. But the reality is somewhat remarkably different than that. The interest in Greenland isn't new. This did not just actually come out of nowhere. Now, to the public, it might have seemed like it came out of nowhere. But this has been a long conversation. I mean, we wanted to buy Greenland from Denmark back in the 40s. The interest isn't new. It's strategic and geopolitical, and it's rooted in more than a century of competition. And you kind of heard it there, and we've talked about this in the past, the location of the Arctic. It's in the nexus of North America, Europe, and the Arctic, which has mattered militarily and economically for generations because of Russia and China. If you look back at American history, you find that the U.S. first seriously wanted Greenland around the end of World War II. We recognized that controlling, or at least securing the island, was essential to defending the North Atlantic approaches, the protecting of the homeland. The general issue in this particular region is during the early Cold War, we negotiated the 1951 Greenland Defense Agreement. And this was negotiated directly with Denmark. And it allowed us to operate on Greenland with Danish consent. Now, why? Why would we need that? It wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. It was a part of NATO's northern defense posture. And the reason why that matters is because we all acknowledge, and again, Rutte acknowledges this as well, Denmark cannot defend Greenland. They cannot. They're not capable of defense. We are. And rather than just getting into defending Greenland, which is what's going to happen anyway, because of our interests, why not just own it outright? But all of this was deliberate, and it was designed to deter Russian aggression and to basically be a watchdog over the skies and the oceans over the Arctic. And it was 1946. I just Googled it. 1946 is when we offered to buy Greenland from Denmark. And this wasn't done on a whim. This wasn't done because of a sudden interest in Greenland that couldn't be explained, but because of the strategic necessity. The planners understood that an ally's reluctance to militarize the island could leave a huge gap in the defense of the West that China and Russia could take advantage of. Now, at the time, it was more about Russia, less about China. But now it's about both. Now, at the time, the offer was rejected. But the strategic reasoning or calculus hasn't actually changed. That part hasn't changed. Fast forward from 1946 to 2026, and the basic drivers remain exactly the same, even if the actors and the rhetoric might have shifted a bit. You have long frozen sea lanes suddenly open, natural resource deposits that are up potentially for grabs. You have China that is actively trying to purchase ports there. Why do you think that is? That matters. And yeah, the rare earths and the critical minerals also play a huge role because, again, you can make this argument that it's really about national Defense, I mean, modern electronics and defense manufacturing rely on the rare earth minerals that they have in Greenland. And by the way, not just in Greenland, Ukraine. We've also had that conversation. Those matter. That adds to the security calculus because China is all involved in creating these microchips for computer software, for AI, and they require those kinds of minerals. They have access to minerals. We don't have the same access. This helps get us some of the same access, which keeps us more competitive. None of these arguments are fringe. These are arguments and discussions that have been going on for decades. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state. What do you think the reasoning is for that? They're exploring ways to expand its influence in that region. This is documented, not theoretical. So when you've got current political leaders and commentators talking about securing Greenland, understand that the pushback that they have is purely political. They seem to not mind losing that critical region because they think calling it out or calling out the Trump administration is worth it. But if it wasn't Trump, if this was Biden making this move, it would be seen as heroic and they would be supporting it from the beginning. That's the reality. The only thing that's changed in the last several months is the intensity of the debate and the rhetoric because everyone is broken by Donald Trump. A NATO summit, threats of tariffs, discussion last week in Davos about a future framework for at least a conversation about cooperation. That puts it all in the headlines, but the substance behind all those headlines, concerns over Arctic security, great power competition, cohesion between NATO, all of that is substantive. Europe and the U.S., we've been wrestling with the same issues here since the end of World War II. So don't buy the folks who are claiming that this is just sudden interest of Donald Trump because he's a crazy person. They're lying to you or they don't know the history. It could be both. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to join the conversation. Don't forget, Scott Jennings Show heard weeknights now, 8 to 10 right here on Seattle Red. Do not miss it. Make sure you download the Seattle Red app. Just go to your app store, search Seattle Red, and you can stream the Scott Jennings Show wherever it is you are tonight between 8 and 10. Do not miss it. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. Picture amazing photography, designer staging, and maximum exposure. With my luxurious marketing, you'll sell fast at top dollar and save thousands in fees for just 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder. Now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
Hey, this is Pete from What Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. TurboTax helps you get your biggest refund, and then Credit Karma helps you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
We are Seattle Red. Learn how Seattle Red is amplifying the conservative movement in Seattle at seattlered.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO-FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Federal agents prepare to scale back. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. Some, but not all, Border Patrol agents are reportedly leaving Minneapolis tomorrow as President Trump shifts the point person from the patrol commander Greg Bovino to border czar Tom Holman. Now, this as the White House tries to distance the president from the rhetoric calling the ICU nurse killed Saturday an assassin. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Democratic leaders in Minnesota are to blame for the shooting.
Governor Walz and Mayor Frey have shamefully blocked local and state police from cooperating with ICE, actively inhibiting efforts to arrest violent criminals. They have also used their platforms to encourage left-wing agitators to stalk, record, confront, and obstruct federal officers who are just trying to lawfully perform their duties.
President Trump spoke by phone today with Governor Tim Walz and later to Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Frey said in a statement the president agreed that this situation cannot continue. At least 29 people have died from this weekend's brutal winter storm that stretched from New Mexico to Maine. And as millions dig out of the snow and cope with ice and power outages, bitter cold temperatures are still ahead. Fox Weather's Bob Van Dillen is in Greenville, South Carolina.
We're going to see temperatures just plummet down to about 12 degrees. But the nightmare of the storm, it really started out there, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, all the way up there with the icing that went right through Middle Tennessee. Things right there are much worse than we are right here.
More than 630,000 customers from Texas to West Virginia without power.
And then you're talking about epic amounts of snow, something we haven't seen in 4 years. About a foot of snow is what they got in Central Park and went up to 18, 20 inches around Boston.
And travel very difficult. More than 5,500 flights canceled so far today. America's listening to Fox News.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks rose ahead of a week of big tech earnings, with 4 of the Magnificent 7 stocks delivering financial results, which are seen as an AI sentiment test. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 posted a 4th session of gains. The Magnificent 7 stocks were mostly higher, with shares of Apple and Meta both up more than 2% ahead of their earnings release this week. Gold topping $5,100 for the first time as investors flocked to safe assets amid geopolitical tensions, while silver notched its biggest one-day jump in 40 years to a fresh record above $115 a troy ounce. Natural gas prices extending last week's rally as a winter storm disrupted parts of the country, leaving thousands without power. The Dow up 314 points, the Nasdaq higher by 100, S&P 500 up 35. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
New Year's resolutions sound great on January 1st, but January 10th, not so much. This year, there's one resolution worth keeping: getting your finances in order. For many people, that starts with balance, not just growth, but protection too. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. For over a decade, they've made it easy for investors to add gold and silver to their portfolios and reduce market risk. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before
The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, recording here in New York as I am in town for CNN, which means I get to yell at liberals tonight. We got a lot planned this hour of the show. We'll get into SCOTUS, Supreme Court, finally coming to the rescue when it comes to trans athlete bans. One law in Idaho being discussed today, but this is really about what's going to happen nationwide. But before then, we are day 2 of the legislative session in Washington state. And of course, Democrats are up to their shenanigans. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital, Common Sense Lending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Washington Democrats are advancing a bill that local media is going to take the bait on. And I really, really hope that they don't, although I fear that they will. This is a bill that would limit when law enforcement can cover their faces while they're on the job. And the intent behind this bill, as the state senator Javier Valdez, the Democrat from Seattle, pointed out, was drafted because of the ICE enforcement that he and other Democrats are completely against.
Seeing law enforcement officers throughout the country bringing intimidation tactics and causing fear in neighborhoods, in our families, and our communities.
It's intimidation tactic. I mean, I'm intimidated. I know Jackson earlier today, when he got into the office, he sent me a text. He was a little bit late, and you were just in tears, it sounded like. Just like, I can't. I'm just so intimidated by the idea of law enforcement. That's where, because they're coming. First, they go after the immigrants, and then they come after us, which, of course, is not going to happen. The problem, of course, with this bill is that it is, can we call this, Jackson, a kind of a fake bill? Like, it's a real bill, but it does absolutely nothing when it comes to federal law enforcement. Do we all understand why? I know not everyone has taken a Constitutional 101 course, but you know the basic concept here, right?
It's a virtue signal bill, yeah.
It's a virtue, but why is this useless from a federal standpoint?
The supremacy clause.
Okay, supremacy clause. And it's kind of in the name of the clause, supremacy. What does that mean? Who's supreme?
The federal law supersedes state law.
100% of the time. That's always going to be the case. And so they're pushing this as if it's going to do anything. And I saw some, memes on Reddit being posted by left-wingers like, unmask ICE. This does not unmask anything. This doesn't unmask anything. In fact, all you have to do is go to California, which passed the exact same law, but it's gone absolutely nowhere because the locals have zero impact whatsoever on whether or not you're going to be able to force federal law enforcement from taking off their masks. This is a made-up issue. It is a made-up issue. And media is going to push this as if it has any chance in the world of not just it's going to pass, but actually being implemented. It's not going to be implemented. But what will happen is after they pass this bill and they see an ICE agent in a mask, they're going to say this is another example of the Trump administration violating the law. This is a lawless Gestapo or a lawless gazpacho. That's how they'll present it. And they'll use it again as a means to attack the Trump administration and smear federal law enforcement agencies, even though they know that this is very clearly unconstitutional. U.S. Attorney Pete Serrano, he made that point earlier to our sister station. But, I mean, the reality is you don't need to even go to a Republican U.S. attorney to know this. We know exactly what's going on here. But again, the media is going to play into this game. They're going to pretend otherwise. Now, at the same time, an issue that I think they ought to pay attention to, they're almost going to completely ignore and not amplify the messages on or point out that Democrats are acting clearly, again, unconstitutionally. We told you yesterday of the two initiatives that got enough signatures to be considered by the state legislature before they get on to the ballot in November. One having to do with bringing back parental Bill of Rights, which the Democrats gutted. The other one having to do specifically with banning trans athletes, which big Supreme Court case or two cases today were heard. We'll get into that in a second. But according to the state constitution, the legislature has to take them up and treat them with the highest of importance. But what did they say instead? Oh, we're just going to completely ignore it. We're not going to look at it. We're not going to debate it. We're not going to vote on it. We're going to ignore what the Washington State Supreme Court says, and we're just going to put it on the ballot. Now, yesterday, as I pointed out, the reason why they're going to do that is because it gives them 11 months, essentially, hoping that you forget about this issue, so no momentum, 11 months raising more money so that they can outspend the initiative supporters and flat out lie to you about what's in it. And, of course, 11 months where they continue the status quo. Now, ultimately, at least for one of the initiatives, it might be moot. In fact, it will likely be moot in just a few months when we get the Supreme Court decision on trans athlete bans. But the reality is, this is all intentional, but it's unconstitutional, which is why the Citizen Action Defense Fund, the CADF, also known as KEDF, they're calling out the legislature and the Democrats for refusing to hold these hearings. And they're pointing out that nearly 500,000 Washingtonians signed the petitions. And they're not supposed to just ghost them. They're required to either pass them as they're written, reject them as they're written, or simply send them to the voters. That's it. That is the process that they're supposed to follow. And yet they are choosing to ignore that process because there are no consequences here other than maybe getting called out. But getting called out is not the same as meaningful consequences, legally speaking, or political consequences. And there won't be any political consequences. They do whatever it is they want. Voters followed the rules, but the legislature is refusing to do exactly the same thing. And it's not some technical oversight. It's not some scheduling conflict. They've openly said they have no intention of holding hearings, no votes, no debate, which would bring a giant spotlight to this. And again, debating this issue and having them go on the record on something that is so wildly popular, regardless of one's political position, they don't have a spotlight highlighting their debate against the will of the people. That's another big piece of this. The Constitution didn't change. The arrogance coming from the legislature changed. Jim Walsh has an op-ed today at Seattle Red on the arrogance coming from this administration and from this leadership. And so the Citizen Action Defense Fund over at seattlered.com, they're demanding some kind of accountability. But again, I don't think we're going to see anything. This is all just a giant scam. And it's on us, frankly, to speak up and push back and demand some change. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The sports ball.
Well, kudos to the Seattle Seahawks. They got their bye week. They're now in playoff territory officially, headed to Lumen Field. They're hosting the 49ers. Do we really need, Jackson, the same game that we ended the season with?
Just the way it shook it. This is how it shakes out.
But I don't know. This one doesn't seem all that interesting to me. Is it fair to say that the Seahawks are the favorite?
Yeah, I think in Vegas the spread is they're favored by 7.5 points, so a touchdown.
And I know what a touchdown is.
Well, maybe other people don't. I don't know.
Who doesn't know that? And first of all, it's not a touchdown technically, right? It's a touchdown and a field goal. Dummy.
A touchdown and an extra point, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just
plus
saying.
Half a point.
And half a point. I always love it. How do they figure out the half point part? That I don't understand. How do you cover the spread when there's a half?
Well, that's the thing is it's if it was only 7, you'd be like, oh, I could see them, winning by a touchdown. Then worst case, I push, I get my money back if it's exactly 7. But if it has to be more than a touchdown, that makes it harder,
Yeah, okay. Well, in any case, they're playing the 49ers without Kittle, whose
Correct.
leg fell off or something.
Tore his ACL.
Yeah, same thing. So he's out, which he's always been a problem for the Seahawks. And I find, again, I'm totally a bandwagon fan. Although I watched almost every single game this season. I listened to I actually listened to the San Francisco 49ers game when the Seahawks won, cementing their bye week. But they're going into this, and I thought this was kind of interesting to me. I saw this all over the place, and people were sharing an email that they got as a season ticket holder. They were warned not to resell their playoff tickets, and if they do, it could jeopardize whether or not they're going to be able in the next season to keep their eligibility for those season tickets. The warning, King 5 says, comes as playoff energy builds in Seattle after the heated rivalry match. The policy said, hey, we don't want this in place, or fans said of the policy, we don't want this in place, people selling their tickets, because it could impact how many 49ers fans are actually in the stadium. One season ticket holder named Jeff, speaking to King 5, says this is a good policy.
And then we have a firm policy in our group that nobody sells their tickets to, non-Seahawks fans. If they determine that your tickets were primarily used for resale, I think that's the tipping point. But no pun intended with Seahawks. But I'm glad they're finally ruffling some feathers. Yeah, I mean, you go there for a collective experience, and yeah, it's fun sparring with fans from other teams and things like that in a fun way. But it's way more fun high-fiving, a Seahawks fan when something fantastic happens. Take a step back and really look at the history of things. It's like we're living in wonderful times right now. And hopefully more wonderful after Saturday.
Oh, shut up. Fans are the worst. So here's what I don't understand about this. What if you can't go to the playoff game? You're out of town. And let's say I'm a Seahawks ticket holder. I couldn't sell them to you? You're a Seahawks fan.
Well, maybe you could do it under the table, maybe, and then they would have no way of knowing.
I guess, but
just give it
why
to
are
a
they
friend
just
and be like,
like
hey.
I get their point of like going on to third-party tickets, but why are we just assuming it's going to be a 49ers fan who purchases the tickets? Wouldn't it be just as likely, if not more likely, since it's at Lumen Field, that someone who's a Seahawks fan would purchase?
I don't know. Third party, I feel like for example, in the first game of the season when the Niners were here, there was tons of Niner fans. So presumably that's how they got their tickets, was like off third-party sites.
I'm not saying they're not going to get their ticket, but it seems like it's fair to say that there are more Seahawks fans who are likely to purchase a ticket to a playoff game in Seattle than a 49er fan who will purchase tickets and fly here.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, so that's what I guess I don't understand why we are just making this assumption. Couldn't you, and I don't know, like Seahawks couldn't do this, but can't we just work with third-party vendors and be like, we're only selling to zip codes that originate in Washington State? It's just, what are you supposed to do if you don't, what if you're a lonely person who doesn't have any friends and you can't go? Wouldn't you rather have someone in those seats?
Maybe you would, but they don't want any Niners fans there.
No, it's not a guarantee, is my point, that it's just 49er fans. Are you going?
No, I'm not going.
Why? Because you can't find tickets on the third-party sites.
And it's very expensive.
So you're independently wealthy. I saw the ring you got your fiance. You can afford it.
I haven't been to a Seahawks game in years, actually. I go to more Husky football games than NFL games. But
can I say, because I've been to, the only times I've ever been to a Seahawks game is obviously when I'm in the suite, because our sister station is the home of the Seahawks. And even there, I don't like going to Seahawks games. It's too loud. It's one of the big perks for the Seahawks is having this stadium that was built to be very loud, and it's distracting for the opposing team. But I am hypersensitive to sounds. I have hyperacusis, and it's very difficult for me, not even just to pay attention. It physically hurts to be at Lumen Field. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Versus going to like a Mariners game, and while it can obviously get loud, it's not sustained over the course of a 2-3 hour game.
Yeah, it's just
or a 7 hour game for baseball.
Pockets of loudness, but not the whole time.
Exactly. I can't do it. I much prefer, and just kind of like soccer, I prefer watching it on a TV than being there. Unless, ironically, if I'm at Lumen Field for a soccer game, I want the nosebleed seats, because you can see the entire pitch or field, and you can see how the game strategy is unfolding, versus it doesn't totally make a difference if you're there for a football game. Although I feel like still the higher up you are, the better.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? And yet baseball, I don't think you need to be high up. I think you can have really, quote unquote, good seats. But I don't feel that way with Seattle, with football or soccer.
Mm-hmm. And I find myself becoming more and more of like an old curmudgeon because, like, as you say, baseball games, one thing I love about them is how it's so easy to like socialize with people and it's just kind of chill. But like if I'm at a football game or like a Kraken game or something and on the Jumbotron, they're like, get loud. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, it's like, no, could you quiet down? You've been loud this whole time. And can everyone sit down for a minute? My feet hurt. I don't like this anymore. And I'm not going to spend, not that I'd ever eat a hot dog, but $14 on a hot dog.
Uh-huh.
It's too much.
That's one of the most annoying things about Mariner playoff games, actually, is like, I get why people do it, but like people during playoff baseball, people stand the entire time.
The whole game. It's like going to a concert with chairs and everyone's standing. Like, but we got seats. Why are we standing?
It's like we're not even batting, and it's like a 1-0 count in the third inning. Like, why are we getting on our feet?
Yeah, it's too much. I'm kind of with you. And especially, it feels like it's going to be worse for playoff games. Wouldn't you rather just watch it or listen to it than be there?
I think, especially nowadays with like, surround sound and 4K TV, and you can just sit on your couch. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, I'm definitely not spent. Well, it doesn't matter. There was at no point was I even considering going to the game. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending international?
We appear to be one step closer, potentially getting more involved, militarily involved in Iran. President Trump earlier today told the people of Iran to, quote unquote, take over the institutions. He's canceled all meetings with the Iranian regime over the crackdown on the protests. This announcement was on his Truth Social, saying Iranian patriots keep protesting, take over your institutions, save the names of the killers and the abusers. They will pay a big price. And he says, I've canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stop. Help is on the way. Now, the question is, what does that help actually look like? Will it be more traditional military involvement? Probably not, although Senator John Fetterman, who, as I will remind everyone, appears to be the only sane voice on the left in the Senate, says he would support some kind of kinetic action in Iran. He was on CNN.
Do you want the U.S. to get involved like that?
Sure, absolutely. And now if it continues to make more sense, absolutely. I think I was the only Democrat that fully supported our strike of their Iranian nuclear facilities last year. And now, by then, without those kinds of strikes, Iran could have acquired a nuclear bomb. I hope we can all agree that Iran should have never acquired a nuclear bomb. And Iran is one of the world's top terrorist unwriter. And now you have that poisonous regime now in spiral. So why wouldn't we want to support that? And those brave protesters, they've killed probably more than 600 by now. So now, why would we want to have the kinds of targeted kinds of action that could break that regime?
It seems pretty obvious that we're not going to have boots on the ground. We might get involved with airstrikes to, strategic locations having to do with their military infrastructure. I bet, and not because I have any special intel, obviously, on this, but I'm hearing a lot of people talking about the prospect of cyber chaos that we can create by hacking their system, infiltrating their systems. And perhaps that's what we end up doing, that this is more of a digital warfare kind of bit to stop this regime from killing all of these innocent Iranians. To me, what's been really interesting about this is that, folks on the left who previously complained that the Trump administration hadn't done enough to deal with bad actors like Iran, and that we were leaning into this kind of isolationist position. And, in fairness, I think some people falsely portray America First as isolationist in general. America First is not isolationist. It means anything that we're doing is to the advantage of the American people. That does not mean that we never get involved in anything foreign. And you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's the dumbest of dumb, she seemed to think that, and that's in part how she broke up with the Trump administration. I mean, specifically dealing with Israel because she's an anti-Semite. But you know, I thought we said no to foreign wars. This is starting a foreign. This is not a foreign war. What we're seeing are revolutionaries, the people of Iran pushing back in a meaningful way. And if we can help them, isn't it in our best interest for a weakened Iranian regime, especially if it means they might become a more democratic region? Because it's not just about Iran. This would send shockwaves into the Middle East. You know, we've made this before on the show that the Iranian people are not the enemy. They are very much, for the most part, aligned with Western culture and Western ideals. Not completely, right? But they are considerably aligned, or more considerably aligned than, say, you know, Palestinians in Gaza, right? They are very much over there, not a fan of Western culture. But the Iranian people and the American people have a lot in common and a lot of respect for one another. It's the Iranian regime which has used a tremendous amount of violence to subjugate the people. So it's in our best interest to have, you know, a flourishing and non-threatening Iran in that region, which the threat that they offer is just destabilizing in that region. So whatever it is we're doing, you would expect, I think, Democrats would at least privately support what the Trump administration is talking about here. But of course, they can't talk about it publicly because everyone is broken by Trump. It was funny yesterday on, I think it was Air Force One, the president got a question from CNN about whether or not President Trump, you know, threatening any kind of action in Iran would be taken seriously, which is frankly an odd question.
Don't you think so, CNN? Don't you think so? Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years with me, being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out, don't you think, and then you just had Venezuela, don't you think, she says, CNN, do you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done? What a stupid question.
Yeah, and I don't even understand. Do we know what the point of that question was? Did she mean it in a different way?
I have no idea.
Right? It seemed like, well, why would they take you seriously, rather than a more objective, will they take you seriously? At least that's how I read the tone. So I'm kind of with the president on that one of like, why are you asking such a dumb question? It doesn't really make any sense. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. Remember 2020 when everything was shut down, the world was locked down, you weren't driving anywhere, and because you didn't get regular maintenance, skipping the oil change might have wrecked your vehicle's warranty. So the Sunset Auto family is offering absolutely free warranty health checks. And if they find that your coverage is shaky, they can get you out of that car and into something better with warranty protection for life. SunsetAutoFamily.com. Sunset Auto Family in Auburn and Sumner. Just bring your vehicle down. When we come back, a monumental case is going to be decided on trans athletes in competition. It seems pretty clear where the justices are going. We'll have some of the analysis and great audio from today's hearing when we return on The Jason Rantz Show from the Fox News studios in New York.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't, and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination, and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. JD Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store and online. And now, the more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Limited time. For JD Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Check it out at the Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Here's the tale of Tina, searching up and down for decent GLP-1s, but got spun around.
Till GoodRx wrote in, hey, we got something new. GLP-1 prescriptions, all FDA approved.
Brand name meds, no flags that are red.
Clear pricing from the start. None of those hidden fees in your cart. Delivered
to your door or pick up same day. Darn tootin'.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
I'll put it to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Big tax changes this year could mean a bigger refund, and Jackson Hewitt knows how to get you your biggest. You'll get $100 just to try us. That won't make you filthy rich, but definitely gas plus groceries rich. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back, which would make you low-key loaded. Or at least wealthy adjacent? Go with our trusted pros and get $100 to switch. Rest easy. Jackson Hewitt's got your taxes. Guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder. Now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show, broadcasting from the Fox News studios out of New York. I'm in town, somewhat ironically, I suppose, for CNN. And an issue that we'll be debating tonight at 7 p.m. our time is today's SCOTUS hearing, SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. And let's, from the get-go here, be clear about what's going on. This is a debate not about hate, not about bigotry, as folks on the left who scream the loudest want to define this as. This has never been about hate or about fear. And it's frankly never been about denying anyone dignity or erasing trans people. This is just about fairness. And frankly, it's about fairness for girls. Girls, those groups of people that we used to be able to define honestly until the left decided to lean into the wokeness. Earlier today, the Supreme Court was asked to weigh the legal arguments about whether or not states can ban biological males or trans girls from competing in girls' sports. And the fact that this even needs to be litigated tells you how far off the rails this entire conversation has gone. We have the existence of girls' sports for a reason. It was never meant to be a political statement or a social experiment. They exist because biological differences between boys and girls or men and women, it's real, it's measurable, and it's decisive, especially when we're talking about competitive athletics where you're talking about people at their peak performance. Every once in a while, you'll get one of those really, truly bad and disingenuous arguments. Like if I'm out there saying, yeah, we should be banning this from occurring. It's not fair. An athlete will say, or someone on the other side will say, well, a female athlete can beat you at anything. Like, yeah, you can. I'm not an athlete. Of course they can beat me. We're not talking about me competing against a top female athlete. Although I suppose, depending on what it is we're talking about, I might be stronger. Not Jackson, not you though. You're weak upper body. You have the upper body strength of a vegan.
Which is so weird because I'm not a vegan.
I know it is. It's very, but you got to up your protein. But none of this is really about ideology as much as it is about biology or physiology. We know that as a matter of fact, and again, you don't need to be a scientist, as Jamie Peterson, the state senator from Washington, wants us to pretend. You don't have to be a scientist to understand this. Males have inherent advantages because of muscle mass, bone density, lung capacity, strength, and that's not erased because someone changes the way they identify or because of some hormone treatments that they're on. You can argue about policy. I think that that's fair, but you can't argue with the biology without looking like you're just flat out lying or you're just, stupid. And yet for years, that's exactly what the activists and the lawmakers have demanded everyone do. And it's always interesting when you hear the justices on the left try to talk through all of these issues. It seems clear that they're just ignorant on the issues. And it was speaking of ignorant on the issues, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who didn't quite understand why a state would have to have tailored laws around things like trans issues.
I'm still struggling to understand why.
And by the way, she says this every single time. It's, how some people just say a lot, like this is or like. That's Ketanji Brown Jackson's like or She says, I'm struggling to understand. I don't understand.
To understand why the state would have to have perfectly tailored laws. I would think the state would just have to make exceptions where people can demonstrate that the justification that makes the state's conduct constitutional doesn't apply to them.
Right. So making exceptions is tailoring your law. That's literally what it means to tailor.
No, but
I love that. And this is the justice. Is this Hashim Mupan?
Yep.
I just love it. It's like, it's literally what you just said. It's literally what it is they're doing.
Yes, from the standpoint of a facial challenge, when we're asking whether this law has to be stricken completely because it isn't, perfectly tailored. What we're doing is a different exercise in the as-applied challenge. We're asking whether, even though this law is overbroad, we're assuming it's overbroad now because you've got in there some people to whom it should not be applied. What do we do about that? What is the remedy that those people can get? And what I hear you saying is they get no remedy unless they can demonstrate that there are enough people that this is sufficiently overbroad that it's no longer something the state can do.
Right.
And I don't understand why that is. Why wouldn't, when we identify people for whom this law operates unconstitutionally, that's the premise, because now I'm in remedy, right? The premise is that you have a person who's successfully made an as-applied challenge. This, to me, unconstitutional. You say, too bad, unless you can show that it's also unconstitutional with respect to a sizable number of other people. And I don't understand why that's the case.
Oh my God, she never really understands. So let's hear the legal response to that, because I find this stuff fascinating.
Because I don't agree with the premise that the law operates unconstitutionally as to an individual person just because it doesn't. The justification for the law doesn't apply to that person. That's what this court held in both Wynn and Michael M. It recognized that the justification that was put forward for the law might not be true for each and every person the law applied to, but this court said that's fine.
And if we read Caban and Lair to say something different, if I disagree with you, then we just...
Well, Wynn is the most recent of the cases. So even if you read the cases that way, and Wynn is explicit about this. Wynn explicitly says, I believe it's... I'm not going to get the page number right, but Wynn explicitly says that we recognize that there are some men who were present at the birth of their child, who have a DNA test to prove that they were the father, that have been with their kids their entire life. In fact, that was probably true of Wynn's father.
It's just so silly. And of course, the topic of what a woman is came up, and Justice Sam Alito was pressing the attorney on the anti-ban side, Kathleen Hartnett, to describe what a woman is.
Do you agree that a school may have separate teams for a category of students classified as boys and a category of students classified as girls?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition for equal protection purposes? What does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court. And we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies in practice is to exclude birth-sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth-sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
I think here we just know that we basically know that that they've identified pursuant to their own statute, Lindsay qualifies as a birth-sex male, and she's being excluded categorically from the women's teams as the statute. So we're taking the statute's definitions as we find them, and we don't dispute them. We're just trying to figure out, do they create an equal protection problem?
And it was at that point that Alito just completely nuked the argument that was coming from the anti-ban side.
Suppose this school that has a boys, let's say, track team and a girls track team. The school has that. And a student who has the genes and the reproductive system of a male and had those at birth and has never taken puberty blockers, never taken female hormones, never had any gender altering or affirming surgery, says, nevertheless, I am a woman. That's who I am. Can the school say, no, you cannot participate on the girls' team?
So you're just a birth-sex male who has all the advantages of birth-sex male hormones, and can the school bar him from the women's team? Yes, they can.
But that person, is that person not a woman in your understanding? If the person says, I sincerely believe I am a woman, I am in fact a woman. Is that person not a woman?
I would respect their self-identity in addressing the person, but in terms of the statute, I think the question is, does that person have a sex-based biological advantage that's going to make it unfair for that person to be part of the women's team? And that's the rationale for the regulation, and so that's the way we would be testing that hypothetical.
Well, the reason I'm asking has to do with discrimination on the basis of transgender status. So what you seem to be saying is, yes, it is permissible for the school to discriminate on the basis of transgender status, because if this person is a trans woman, a trans girl, and is barred from the team, from the girls' team, then that person is being subjected to differential treatment based on transgender status, right?
That did not go well for her. And it seemed pretty obvious. And I know, Jackson, you were paying close attention to this today as well. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is going to be another one of those block decisions where all the conservatives are going to go one way, the majority, and then all the liberals are going to go the other way. There were two people kind of to watch. One was Chief Justice John Roberts, who I think his first question out the gate made it clear where he stood. Neil Gorsuch is the only other person to watch because he's gone both ways on this, pardon the pun, on this particular, it was not intended to, I heard that snicker. He's gone both issues on this, or both sides of the issue. But it seemed pretty clear the conservatives are going to side with states giving them the right to ban trans athletes from competing. Yeah,
I mean, the whole thing is just so preposterous. Like, how could they not? I mean,
Well, well, how can they not? You can listen to the really bad arguments coming from Kagan, Sotomayor, and Brown-Jackson, and they really were bad. And, on MS Now, their legal reporter, Lisa Rubin, she acted in such bad faith with one of her arguments, framing this entire debate. And, on the one hand, she's right when she says you can't really separate out the politics of this, but it's not because of what the conservatives did. But listen to what she said.
Well, you'd hope that the politics are out of the courtroom. And I will say, our producers have noticed a protest outside the court today that is larger than anything else that they've seen this year. So
it's unbelievable. The 13 days of which they've only been in session for 2, the largest protest we've ever seen. I mean, I was shocked by how many protesters were there in the 13 days and really 2 days of the session.
Politics around this, you're correct to observe, are quite large. With respect to what comes in the courtroom, I don't know how you can disaggregate the politics from this legal issue. The very fact that we're talking about the difference between biological males and cisgender males is...
Was that a mistake?
Yeah, wait a minute.
There is no difference, Lisa, between biological males and quote-unquote cisgendered males. They're just males. That's the thing here.
It's been foisted upon us by a campaign of fear being driven by the right against some women who want to participate in women's sports.
No. Against men who want to participate in women's sport. That's what, again, she's intentionally framing this as if trans women are women because that's a bumper sticker talking point, but they're not.
One of the plaintiffs here, Becky Pepper Jackson, she was the plaintiff and is now the respondent in the West Virginia case. She transitioned when she was in 3rd grade, has never...
No. Oh, my God. That's your argument? How old is a 3rd grader?
Like 8.
Yeah. Okay. She didn't transition anything. He had abusive parents.
Undergone the kind of puberty that a biological male would necessarily go through. And so her argument is, to Leah's point, sort of some men but not all men, she says that from a biological standpoint, she is indistinguishable from other women.
But that's just not true. There's no such thing as indistinguishable from other women when we're talking about biology.
And so to foist upon her the expectations that we have of most biological men is simply unfair and unconstitutional as to her.
I'm also, it's funny because she says as to her, but Lisa's point and the point of everybody on MS Now is not even to make the distinction she's trying to make here, right? I mean, the whole point here is to do the opposite, is to treat every single quote-unquote trans person as if they're actually the biology in which they identify. It's just absolute lunacy. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to join the show and weigh in. I'm broadcasting from the Fox News studios in New York on this Tuesday afternoon. I'll be debating this very issue tonight on CNN at 7 o'clock on Abby Phillip Newsnight. I don't know who the panel's going to be. Oh, God. I'm going to get in trouble, aren't I? I can already see it. How long before I get called a bigot tonight once this story is introduced?
I'd say over-unders 90 seconds.
Right? Should I play the gay card? Because the chances are any liberal on that panel will not know who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for the moment where, like, listen, it's just one thing for all of us to say as cisgendered heterosexuals. I'm just waiting for that moment. We're going to get into some more controversies when we come back. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Lewis County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Hey, it's Doctors King and Kopstein from K2 Vision. If you're at the stage where you need readers, whether you've had LASIK or not, it may be time to consider K2 Vision RLE. I tell my King LASIK patients, laser vision correction won't solve the eventual need for reading glasses due to an aging, dysfunctional lens.
But K2 Vision RLE will. It's not a question of if your lens becomes dysfunctional, it's when. At that point, you'll need reading glasses and could benefit from refractive lens exchange, a permanent solution to distance, intermediate, and near vision problems. In other words, no glasses, no contacts, and no readers.
And no cataracts.
Exactly. After K2 Vision RLE, you will never develop a cataract.
K2 Vision RLE is quick and painless.
And because we performed over 100,000 procedures and followed the outcomes, we have the experience to know if RLE is right for you.
Schedule your free Zoom consultation today at k2visionrle.com. And let's get your vision feeling young again, permanently.
Go to k2visionrle.com.
Spring is right around the corner, but the perfect time to start your outdoor project is right now. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years. They design, build, and maintain stunning outdoor spaces, from full makeovers to weekly maintenance. Beat the spring rush and get your yard project started today. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu, the daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show here in New York, as I'm on the road for some debates with liberals on CNN. And I have to say, we'll get to the news in a moment, but I had a maybe an hour's worth of glee in travel. Travel is not great, especially to the East Coast. It's such a long flight. The good news coming to New York from Seattle, and I flew into JFK, is that it's usually, because of the wind, like 4.5 hours at the most, unless there's some delay. Coming back to Seattle is the worst. It's like 6 hours. It's just, it is brutal. But the one thing I look forward to on these long flights is probably what everyone looks forward to when they take a flight and they look at their seat map and they realize they have the entire row to themselves. And going into the flight, like a day before the flight, it showed that there was no one seated between me and someone who was seated at the window. I'm an aisle guy because I always have to pee when I'm told that if you're in a position where you might have to ask someone to move, you're going to have to pee like 50 times. It's just
I'm the same way.
All right. It's the worst. And look, I drink a lot of water and Coke Zero, so I always have to actually go. So I was praying that no one would get that minute. Yesterday, I get to the airport and I checked every single the map, seat map. Showed that the person who had previously been assigned to the window seat left. I had the entire row to myself, Jackson. The entire row to myself. And then I started to get nervous. I was looking at the flight and I was trying to figure out, because I was in an area that usually gets an upgrade for people if they're in the Jackson seats, I refer to them as, the poor people seats. And then I started to check every 10 minutes to see if someone else was going to be put in that row. But you know what happens right before they let everyone in? They close out the seat assignments so you can't see the map anymore. Mm-hmm. So I get on wondering if they will move someone to some of those open seats. Because worst case scenario is that they fill both seats. Mid case scenario is that one person is there. And I was going through before they shut down the seat assignments, and this would have been risky. But I was thinking to myself, do I pick the middle seat? Should I right? And the chances are, I'm presuming, less likely that someone's going to want to sit next to me. Do I take the middle seat? Because if you're out there and you're looking for a seat, you'll take a seat that has an empty spot between.
Yeah, you want the buffer zone.
Yeah, you'll take the buffer, but you won't want to sit right next to someone. I decided not to do that. So I get to my seat. It's the only row that had all of the armrests up. And I assumed that that was good news, that the flight crew looked at this and they said, hey, whoever's going to be in this row, let's make it more accommodating to them so they can put their feet up.
They're not that nice.
Exactly. They're not that nice. And I couldn't figure out why else would they do that. I was literally the only row that they did this for. So I sit down, and now it's just the clock is ticking. Everyone walking towards me, I'm just praying that they keep walking past me, that they don't make that turn. And there were a couple times where they made eye contact with me. And I was like, oh, no, they're going to ask me to move because they're going to point to the seat on. But they didn't. They kept going. And I kid you not, Jackson, they had just said, we're just about ready to close the doors. There were just a few people who were walking by. And guess what? The second to last person who was walking toward, guess where they went?
Next to you?
Into my row. Now, thankfully, they didn't sit in the middle seat, and it was just one person. So we went back to the original, which I had, pretty much accepted that there was going to be someone at the far end. But I had the glory of the idea of putting my feet up, which would be better than first class to have an entire row to yourself. I had that for just, 20 minutes, 30 minutes as people were boarding. And the second to last person was the one who sat there. And guess who this person was? Remember that Jesse Waters on the street segment in Seattle in which the woman gave the weird look and it became a meme? Do you remember that woman? I am.
If I saw it, probably.
Yeah, everyone remembers it other than you. I am convinced, number one, it was her. Number two, she was watching MSN or MS Now the whole time. And this is what was freaking me out, because it was the emergency exit. You know how they always ask you if you're willing to help in case of an emergency, and everyone lies and says, yes, they would, when the truth is, I'm out first before all of you, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So this woman, I swear to you, didn't look at the emergency pamphlet once or twice or three times even. She looked at it multiple times, not even before and during the flight attendant asking all of us. She was looking at that thing mid-flight, which was making me wonder if she knew something no one else knew.
What's going on?
Why does she keep looking at this thing? Why is she so concerned about whether or not this plane is going to crash and she's going to have to know how to operate this emergency exit? It was really freaking me out. And so the entire time I kept sort of side-eyeing her to see whether or not she was planning something. And the only thing she was doing was planning which liberal garbage to watch on the live TV screen. Thank God we were otherwise fine. Except I had to listen to her. Just like she was talking to herself. I couldn't quite understand what she was saying, but she was I wonder if she was just mentally ill.
Well, if he's watching MS Now, there's a good chance of that.
Right. That's the entire audience for MS Now. 1-800-465-8770. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Breast cancer is a tough battle for anyone to fight. But when you can't work, care for your kids, or even put food on the table, that diagnosis can be devastating. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda, a plastic surgeon who is proud to support Northwest Hope and Healing. Our mission is to provide a lifeline for breast and gynecologic cancer patients. We cover essentials like food, utilities, and childcare, so patients can focus on healing. For more than 25 years, Northwest Hope and Healing has distributed over $3 million to thousands of local cancer patients, and you can help make a difference in our community. Join us on Saturday, January 31st for Cork, Fork, and Support. An afternoon of fine wine, gourmet cuisine, and inspiration at Mary Hill Winery in the heart of Woodinville wine country. Get your tickets now for Cork, Fork, and Support on January 31st. Go to nwhopeandhealing.org to learn more. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
This year's tax changes. Better not get caught snoozing. Miss one deduction, lose thousands. Not amusing.
Big tax changes can mean bigger refunds at Jackson Hewitt. And right now, get $100 just to try us.
Don't worry, tax filers. If money is tight, get $100 from Jackson Hewitt, so you'll sleep better at night.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder. Now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
For nearly 50 years, 90,000 homeowners have trusted Home Comfort Alliance. Right now, save up to $2,000 on new heating and cooling systems. Call the comfort people. HomeComfortAlliance.com.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's a lot of chaos in the world, so take a break from social media and self-serving politicians. At Leathers in Issaquah, our design professionals will guide you to a happy place by elevating your home environment. More than leather, choose from the latest fabrics and solid wood, something for every room in your home. Our guaranteed low prices, quality, and service will lower your blood pressure and be kind to your wallet. So check the chaos
Seattle
at the
Red
door.
on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KR.